What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody feeling this Saturday evening? We got another awesome, amazing show. We got an amazing guest. Been here before, but an OG guest. So hasn't been here in a while. It's been a couple years. We were just talking pregame, but glad to have him back in the realm. We're in the shop. He's from the realm. We're in the shop hanging out today. We appreciate you guys in the chat. Continue love and support. Once again, retweet the link. If you haven't been here before, please subscribe to the channel and the podcast. We appreciate all the love and support. So thank you guys for bringing the heat every single week. But let's go ahead and just dive right into our panel. And shout out, just before we get started, to anybody, shout out to Stag. He is out today, so shout out to you, Stag. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit better, brother. Glad to see you here next week, man. So shout out to you. But let's dive right into our panel here, man. So first up, I wish I had some horns to play and like some horses, something that was fitting. But shout out to you hanging out with us from the realm of the Iron Lords. Lord Saab, man, it's been a while. Appreciate you hanging out here, man. Glad to see you here hanging out with us. It's awesome. Just good energy, man. Great vibe, man. You're looking healthy. Let everybody know where you're from, what you got going on, if they haven't already. Hopefully you have in the chat if you haven't, but, go ahead, Saab.
Thank you, man. Like, it's fantastic to be back here, man. It definitely has been too long. I was telling you, offline, is like I've had to turn down so many invites, man, and I appreciate that. But it's just because my schedule, I've kind of had to like just push back.
Yeah.
But listen, man. But now I'm trying to figure out Saturdays. I'm like, all right, at least try to do something on Saturdays, because, man, like, again, it's been 2 years almost.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
I looked at the DM. I said, "What the hell?" I was like, "I know we're talking between this. There ain't no way we ain't talking now." But for real, it's been about 2.
So yeah, man, it's been a long time, and that should not be happening. So thank you so much for the invite, for having me back here. It's a pleasure to be back here. I love to see your growth as well, man. Like, it's one of those things. Like, it's a beautiful thing to see people in the community that you meet kind of at the beginning of your journey still be here. I can't believe I'm looking back on our journey, and I'm like, I can't believe it's been almost 4 years. Like, where the hell has it gone?
Crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy.
It's crazy. Just the community's come so far from when we started, and when we from the ground up, brother. So we appreciate you. You guys do so much. Shout out to all the lords in the room over there. Addict, Rip, obviously. To just y'all, man, I don't even so tough to even talk about, man. But we were talking about it pregame, but just everything you guys got going over there, we appreciate you guys. You're such a beacon in the community. All of us respect you. There's not a single person in the community that don't respect what you guys got going over there at the Iron Lords, man. So appreciate you
so much, man. And again, when we say community, it's all of us, man. So all of us have come up together, and it's the message comes from all of us, and how we conduct ourselves, and how we talk about games, and how we talk about each other. And I think that's the most beautiful thing. If there's one thing that we're super proud of at ILP, is what we've been able to do in terms of bringing people together, and the fact that people sort of look to us to sort of carry that sort of beacon of yo, it's about the games, it's about the love of the games, it's about the friends you make talking about the games, playing the games, what it always should be about. And a lot of stuff happens to the side or whatever. I honestly, the console war stuff, I just laugh it off, because in my mind, it's like, oh, just people having fun with each other. I know some people take it more seriously, but at the end of the day, man, it's the fact that people buy into this thing that we believe in, and also sort of carry that torch. That's the most beautiful thing to see, man.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's been happening more and more, like, every single week that we come on, it's gobsmacking to really be
crazy.
Like, it is crazy.
It's crazy.
So, as much as you guys appreciate what we do, we appreciate what everybody in the community does as well, because it is one unified message.
Absolutely.
So it's fantastic, man.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Once again, thank you for taking some time here, just hanging out with us this Saturday afternoon, man. And so we appreciate you, man. So obviously, like I said earlier, we're out. Stag is out today. Shout out to Stag. Appreciate you. I know he'll pop up in the chat somewhere. Hopefully, Chris pops up. That'll be beautiful, Saab. You'll get to see them kind of go back and forth in the chat.
Oh, man.
Chris everywhere. Chris Hart. Right?
Oh, so, yeah. Chris everywhere, man.
He everywhere. Shout out to Chris, man. He does support the show.
Christopher Hart, man. Christopher Hart supports everybody, man. And
Yeah, he does.
In our chat, he is willing to get in there and catch smoke every single week with a smile on his face. Love
every
Crystal
time.
Hart, man. Love Crystal
Every
Hart.
time. Appreciate it, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to Stag as well. So, Pong, how you been, bro? You are busy, fresh off the living split screen podcast.
Yep,
That's hot. That thing is coming off the grill over there.
Thank you so much, PTK, man. It's been amazing. Look, I'm just kind of beside myself here because as somebody new to this game and relatively new to this community as a whole, but man, this whole podcasting, this is my 7th show of the week. And,
Crazy.
Yeah. And not only being able to hang out with all the amazing, extended family that I now have in the podcast world and on these shows that I do, but man, this week I got to do a show with Randall Thor. I got to do a show with Dealer Gaming, and now I'm getting to do a show with the rarest of the rare sightings from the realm, the Loch Ness Monster, the Bigfoot
snowman.
That's right,
the
Lord
of the podcast.
Yes, sir.
That's right, Lord Sovereign. I mean, Sav, man. And it's even a greater honor for me because Iron Lords was one of the first podcasts that I found when I popped into the community, when I got serious about just hopping in and getting into chat, and the respect that I have for what you guys do over there, like PTK was saying, and the energy you guys bring. That's something that Steel Rain and I, we talk about this constantly too. When we decided to start living split screen, we look up to you guys for what you guys have over there. And it really, truly is an honor to end my week, with you and being able to be on a show with you. So thank you for being here. And man, we got great topics, but I am kind of beside myself as kind of a newbie. So
likewise, man. It's always, listen, man, that everything is mutual, brother, because it's like, again, I've never had a chance to podcast with you. I haven't seen Blam in 2 years.
Yeah, man.
and that means that I don't see Fuzzy, I don't see Centurion like that. So it's like,
right.
Listen, I'm gonna be better. I promise.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you. Like I said, man, it's awesome just to get you, a different environment, man. It's awesome just to have your energy here, bringing some of that good LOG gaming goodness over here. Appreciate you guys, and you guys have always supported us from the beginning. You've always showed love, every single person over there, man. So I haven't gotten all you guys on the show. I think David is. I have to do something to get David.
Listen, man. Saturdays I know it's tough for him.
It's tough for him, yeah.
Saturday is tough, so that would have to be a special episode. So
okay.
I think during the week he's good. So you gotta.
Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out something during the week then, man. So I'm gonna holler at David. I'll shoot him a DM or something. But shout out. Either way, you guys are all fantastic, man. So
thank you so much.
We appreciate you guys. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Centurion, brother. How you doing this week, my guy? And what's going on?
What is up? It is Saturday night. Bend that knee. Show some respect. We have a fellow member of the positive side of the community from ILP. Oh my God. I get excited anytime I find out there's going to be a Lord on the cast. I don't care who they are. The minute they got Lord on the beginning of it, I'm sold. So, yeah, dude, this is like a cap off to a great Saturday. Definitely, for sure. What have I been doing? Obviously the same old thing, playing a little bit of Elder Scrolls Online, not putting the time into Outriders, what I should be. I even bought the game and it's just like, I'll get to it eventually, probably after it's out of Game Pass. I don't know. I keep going back to the crack that I found in ESO, and I am this close to finally getting the last DLC polished up before they drop the new one in June.
Nice. Keep grinding, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So I stay falling back on the games that I used to play. I got a back catalog that stares at me every day I turn my Xbox on, and I avoid it like child support. But
oh, dude,
no, don't do that.
And back catalogs, and nowadays though, when you're sitting there, like your back catalog is already a mile long, you got games over here, your hard drive is full, and you open up your phone and you're like, oh look, Microsoft bought Bethesda, and you're like, well, there goes the rest of my life.
Yeah, I don't even think about it as a back catalog anymore. I'm just a collector of games, and that's it.
It's pretty much like I've got a media library,
and that's what it is.
Facts.
Like, listen. I'm a baseball psychopath, and I couldn't wait till next week for Game Pass. So I I downloaded the early versions of the show. I played some of that, and I'm just like, yeah, this is my life. And then in a week or two, I'm gonna pre-order Returnal. I'm gonna pre-order Ratchet and Clank, and it's just like, hopefully I'll play them through when they come out. But that's a big hope. That's a big if. You know what I mean?
See, I would have to agree. There's people out there that enjoy I don't care if it's physical or digital, but it's just the idea that like I have a media library. Well, I have a physical media library. I have a digital library. I had to come to terms between me and my wife on the fact that I couldn't have both a movie collection and a physical game collection. So I chose to collect games digitally.
This is what I do.
The loophole.
It is totally a loophole. Listen, my digital catalog is on all three consoles. Yeah, we're looking over 1,000.
Yeah,
like, seriously. I mean, there's a lot of back compat stuff there, or whatever.
Yeah.
But if I were to have that on my shelf, I would be divorced.
Now, this is a subject for another day, can of worms. But just this, every time when I hear people talk about these catalogs, one thing I've always brought up is that these companies definitely need to start creating some kind of a system to basically make these catalogs more like a legacy thing, so you can pass them on to a family, because obviously you're not going to take them with you. And if you really think about how much money is actually sitting in your digital library, they're going to have to start making it to where you can pass these things on to family members if you want, because they shouldn't just be like, oh, well, we're just going to take it and keep it now.
Yeah, for sure. Legacy is I know Xbox is doing a great job with that, but legacy in general in gaming and preservation and moving stuff forward is something that the entire industry has to kind of tackle together, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and get this over to you, Fuzz. Before we smooth things all the way down. Go ahead, Fuzz.
Well, glad to be here. Glad to have Lord Solvin here. And man, just weird week. Not as much, breaking news this past week, but some news nonetheless. But man, we got a lot of topics to get to. Let's get to it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just dive in, man. And once again, chat, appreciate you guys' continued support, man. Once again, we got a Lord in the house, so you guys show some respect in the chat, all right? We're cutting off heads. We're not playing around here. I'm just playing. I love you guys in the chat, but once again, hit the like button and on your way in. I know, right? Crazy. But appreciate you guys.
Question is, is Fuzzy the Cheshire Cat?
Nah, Fuzzy.
He's a cat
for that.
He's the caterpillar.
Oh yeah, that's more like it. That's a better fit. That's a better fit.
I already know I'm the Mad Hatter over here.
I have Cog in the chat. Yes, I told you that I got scolded and I needed to be more present. So here it is.
Got you.
What's up on me?
Yeah, I see you, brother. What's up, Cog?
Annual commitments.
Yeah, big brother over here. You got that contract in the back. You Don Kinging them over here, Cog?
Yeah, man. You got to make sure.
Oh my goodness!
I got to come through with my commitments, man.
I see. Hey, look. Hey, don't have that van pull up. You don't want that van to pull up.
Man, not at all, man. Get thrown in the back and never be heard from again. You know how that goes.
All right, brother. Let's go ahead and get things started, man. Appreciate you, Cog, in the chat. Everybody, man, everything is live. Hit that like button, man. So let's go ahead and get started. Once again, you know how we start the show, poll of the week, every single week, every Monday on Twitter. So follow me. All of that information down in the description below. Appreciate y'all support. So let's just dive right in. Quick poll of the week here. So that was, since Konami has been in the news recently, which dormant IP would you want them to revive and why? So I gave 4 different options. So shout out to the over 200 plus people that voted on the poll. Once again, follow me on Twitter if you want to be a part of that. We do that every Monday, and we talk about it here every Saturday on the Shop Podcast. So once again, the 4 options were Metal Gear, Silent Hill, Castlevania, and Contra. So 4 fantastic games. And yes, I know, chat, I probably missed a few. All right, but that's what I was able to.
You missed a lot.
I missed quite a bit. I got some replies, and I was like, golly, I really did. That was so obvious. But I did the best I could for the time being. So we'll start with our guest of the honor here. So essentially, looks like Silent Hill won 33%. So it was a narrow win over Metal Gear, 31%. So where you at with this, Sav? Out of those 4 options, or you could pick something else that don't got to be on the list. Why and which one would you revive?
I agree with Silent Hill 100%, man. 100%. Like I know, listen, Metal Gear, I have a feeling we're gonna see some Metal Gear related stuff, whether it's new stuff or remakes or remasters. When it comes to like Castlevania and stuff like that, we've had things in that vein, like Bloodstain was fantastic. I love that. So Silent Hill, man, after seeing PT, I was open after seeing PT and the possibility of what they could do with Silent Hill. And the fact that never came to fruition was devastating to me. So to see a return to Silent Hill, obviously with all the new tech that we have, and just to see what they do in terms of, is it going to be third person? Is it going to be first person? We're at a point now where this stuff looks and plays and sounds so amazing that a return to that franchise in particular, we don't get a lot of straight up horror anymore, especially not psychological horror.
That Resident Evil looked nice, and that kind of gave me hope. It's not quite psychological, but it's in the same vein.
And that's why those two were always able to coexist very well, because they were very different at their core. They both were sort of third person action games, but Resident Evil was more like the schlocky, straight up horror, and obviously like sci-fi horror. And then Silent Hill was this sort of psychological stuff, and with also having actual monsters and things of that nature. So for me, a return to Silent Hill, 100%. I would love to see that. So Konami, if y'all not gonna do it, give it to somebody who will.
I mean, and we might be, that may tie into some of the things we're talking about a little later on the show. So stay tuned. If you want to watch it a little bit later, stay tuned. So we'll dive in that a little bit later. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of times we can intertwine that. But great choice. Silent Hill is a fairly obvious option, especially considering all of the news it's been getting and just the recent talk about Silent Hill, the IP, Konami, them softening their position on, other people making their games, since they're not doing anything with them at this point. So,
correct.
I've heard as well that they're softening their position on that. So who knows? Maybe a big check makes that happen. I don't know. So we'll see.
I don't recall. Is that one of those games that they showed at the Nintendo Indie Direct? Wasn't it an old Konami IP? One of those games that look really
I'd have
pretty.
to
look it up.
I'd have to go look it up. But it could be Saw. Could be. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Paul. Just get your opinion out of those four options, brother. Which one do you choose and why?
Metal Gear. I got to go that route. I can appreciate everybody who does want to bring back the Silent Hill. Obviously, I get it. Being not the biggest horror fan, although I did enjoy Silent Hill back in the day, but being that as I get older, I become a bigger scaredy cat. Let's put it that way.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I have to be honest. It's just one of those things. Silent Hill does not appeal to me as much as bringing back Metal Gear does. 5 was somewhat of a letdown. Obviously, we know the turmoil that was going on the inside during that time frame, and obviously with all the rumors now out there, with the Kojima talk and the smoke that the IPs might be up for sale or at least to be licensed, I would love to see the unbelievable happen and have Phil and his team go get the Metal Gear IP, license it, buy it, whatever you got to do, and convince Kojima to go back to his baby and finish it properly. This is a creation that started. I think anybody who has been in video games understands what this means to a lot of people, going all the way back when Metal Gear first started. And I would just love to see him have the freedom, the creative freedom, the resource freedom that Microsoft would give him to go back and finally complete his vision as he sees fit, even if it's crazy, even if it's way out there and nobody understands it. I just like to see him have a final chance at it and close it one way or the other. So Metal Gear for me.
Got it. Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. I'm a little softer on that. I don't necessarily think Kojima needs a farewell Metal Gear. I'm of the mind he's a fairly eccentric gentleman.
Correct.
He's a fairly eccentric person. So I feel like he likes brand new canvases. Like he wants to paint brand new pictures. Right. He's one of the very few developers where he truly, games aren't video games, that's art. Him, You talking about people like John Carmack, people like who's the other guy that did BioShock, Ken Levine. Those guys are the artsy, games are arts kind of guys. So I think my opinion is that I think he could do a Metal Gear. I guess that all depends on how Konami feels about even letting anybody else touch it. But
yes,
but that's the thing. That's the thing about somebody else touching it. It's like that game, that world, that the tone of that game is so intrinsically tied to Kojima and Kojima isms that them returning to it in some way, shape, or form. It would have to be like if they decide we're not going anywhere near Kojima, then they, it's a pretty big risk to say we're going to come back to Metal Gear and it's going to look and feel completely different to what people know it to be.
Well, look at what they did with it. They did Survive, and look at how awful that turned out to be.
And they were just trying to milk it for what for what it was worth. But again, a return to it without Kojima is a totally
it doesn't make sense. That doesn't even make sense. Yeah. So no, I get you. He's godly. All right, let's go ahead and just throw this over to you, then, Centurion. Get your opinion on this, man. Out of those 4 choices and options, which one do you choose and why?
If you really want me to be honest, I guess out of all of the that's the thing.
Lie, Centurion.
Well, that's the thing. So there, I wasn't really big on any of these titles here. Call me, the landscaper of the bushes today, because I'm gonna just. For me, I kind of missed the boat on all of these titles, regretfully. Out of all of them, I really want to go out and check Metal Gear Solid. For me, the only thing I ask is whatever they create, because I voted Metal Gear Solid, but whatever they create, I just want it to be a title for something to help somebody who regretfully kind of missed the original boat to get on with these games, and to somehow make it to where players like me can somehow get in. I'm not telling you to all of a sudden relaunch the entire franchise. I'm just saying find some way to kind of help you get into the franchise without feeling lost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I understand. It's you gotta. So Metal Gear is not something you have to start from the beginning of Metal Gear. You can't start anywhere else. So
and could you imagine going?
The beginning of Metal Gear isn't the beginning of Metal Gear.
Exactly.
The beginning of Metal Gear is at the beginning of Metal.
Come on.
Exactly. That's hilarious. But you get what I mean. That's where I'm just because let's look at it respectively. Some of these franchises are actually significantly old. Some of them made their first appearances on the original PlayStation, and that means the fan base. I'm not saying they're old, but let's look at it now. It's actually kind of like now there's a generation carrying this game forward. You obviously would want to find some way to create a game to help players of the next generation to want to discover this franchise. And I guess that's where somebody like me also gets involved, because I didn't really get the chance to sit down and play those games during a PlayStation. I never really got to own an original PlayStation.
Castlevania is even older. That's NES.
So is Metal Gear.
Technically. So is Metal Gear.
Well, yeah. NES, and that's where if we think about that, somehow that's actually some of the biggest problems of some of these great franchises, is that the only fans that are really carrying these games forward are a very older fan base, because regretfully the younger generation is all hooked on Fortnite and games as a service. And that's where I'm like, even I would be kind of, wow, where do you start? How do you get somebody to want to discover your product?
Well, that's essentially, so this is where we're supposed to start talking about Game Pass. We're not though yet. Okay. Because
I'm not even, because that's obvious. I don't want to use Game Pass as just make a subscription service. Because that's just being repetitive. But I just want to definitely put it out there though, because even in Game Pass, let's look at it respectively. Technically, YouTube is free. I can upload whatever the hell I want when I want. But to get somebody to click on that thumbnail, that is a different story.
I get it. I understand. I get it. Go ahead, Fuzz. It's on you, man. We're going to swing this thing around a little bit. Go ahead and get your opinion, Fuzz.
Being the horror film fan and horror game fan, I went with Silent Hill. If that could happen, that would be awesome. That's. I mean, there's a lot of like horror type games. Like Resident Evil was fine, but I want more of like, and I don't even think it has to be like procedurally generated. Different levels, different rooms you go into, how to figure out how to get out of that room. Kind of like looking back at like the whole PT, demo and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I would really love for a Silent Hill to be the licensed IP that somebody snatches up and Konami gives the blessing to recreate type of deal. But that to me, there's not enough horror games. I mean, there are some out there, more so for PC these days, but definitely need some more stuff on console. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay, no, nothing wrong with that, man. So once again, that's kind of where back to you, Sav, just real quick before we move on to the next topic. These are some significant IPs, and I can't say necessarily with the list that I put out that all of them absolutely need a new game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm confident in saying that with the list that I put out. Maybe 1 or 2, but I can't say the entire list of 4 that I put out. Like, I don't think Contra needs a new game.
Yeah, I mean, Contra is one of those things where I guess there was a game kind of in that vein. It was named Contra. Something actually came out last year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't great. It wasn't great. A lot of times when they try to take that franchise and sort of 3Dify it a little bit, it doesn't work very much. Contra, to me, if you made a pure hardcore 2D side scroller co-op shooter, that's going to appeal to a lot of people. I forget what is the name of we talked to this developer and their game came out on it's come out everywhere. I forgot what it's called.
Like the Song of Iron or something? Or?
No, it's like heavy metal. We actually interviewed them at PAX East.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's the one. It starts with a V. It's I think it starts with a V. I think I know what you're talking about. Heavy metal music, and it's a 2D. Yes. I know what you're talking about.
It's an homage to Contra hardcore.
Yeah.
And it is totally in that vein. It's an amazing game. And I think, if you were going to try to move it into the 3D space, it has to be something very transformative and different to that. And I don't know that they have the resources or care to spend the resources to do that. So a 2D Contra, yes. In terms of taking it someplace else, who knows? But they have, they have things like, they've never gone back to like Police Knots and stuff like that. Zone of the Enders and things like that. And actually that game I was talking about, it's called,
is that Val Ferris?
What are you talking about?
Val Ferris, the one you're thinking of, the heavy metal. Does that ring a bell?
No.
Val Ferris is a new indie that's coming out. That's Contra meets heavy metal. So
no. Actually, okay. I've heard of that one, but this one has been out already. I would say almost 2 years already. I'm trying to remember what the heck it's called. It'll come to me though.
Okay.
But I tell you, like they have a lot of older stuff that can come back. But these are the ones that are sort of been their biggest franchises, and obviously I want to see them come back. Obviously, the Metal Gears and the Silent Hills and the Castlevanias. But we have things in those different veins of gameplay that we can sort of point to for them to sort of come back. So I don't know. I think they do have plenty of IP that I would love to see people tackle, and I do hope they sort of loosen the strings and give them to people and then allow them to be made. Because it only benefits them, right? If they hand somebody the IP and allow them to sort of run with it, they're gonna make money off of that without having to put too much effort on their end. So, because they haven't acted like they really care about what happens with these IP besides, making. I remember that pachinko machine that this Metal Gear Solid 3 pachinko machine that had, like, the amazing graphics and stuff like that. And it's like, why aren't you making a remake of this? Why aren't you making another one? And it's just like, they're making too much money, hand over fist with other stuff. So apologies for the sirens where you live in.
It's all good.
NYC, you know how it is.
Yes, sir.
So, man. I just hope they really are loosening the strings and allowing people to sort of go back to their IP if they don't want to do it themselves. And we start seeing, that Konami logo again. I want to see that,
All right. So let's go ahead and move on. Once again, great warm-up topic chat. Appreciate the support. I'm seeing some new people down in here, man. Sav, the people are coming out. People are coming out the house. They're like, Saab is out? Oh, hell no.
They let Saab out. They let him out.
No, but man, once again, we appreciate the support, man. Everybody just dropping in from the realm. If you're a fan of the realm, you're always welcome here at the Shop Podcast. Appreciate you guys calling in, man. Saab brings them out, man. Doesn't happen too often, man. This is it's almost like a Mariah Carey album. Doesn't happen.
It's like Haley's Comet, every now
and then. No, we appreciate it, man. But let's go ahead and keep things moving, man. Keep things moving. So, next topic, man, we're gonna talk a little bit about Xbox and Nintendo. Now, we've heard some things. Now, nothing obviously concrete. We have seen. I think the main thing that we can point to is just their continued support of each other. We've seen collaborations. We've seen they always support each other on social media. From Phil talking about the Switch, and then people at Nintendo talking about the Xbox, and various different ventures. And they've been very, very chummy. They were on the same side about the crossplay thing when Sony wasn't at one point. They were like, "Hey, Sony, you see us over here holding hands? Like, we really you got to get it together." So, just some things going on there. There's been some rumbles about possibly there being some sort of collaboration in the future, near future, between the two. Now, we've talked about this, and this is always like fantasy baseball, right? I don't know, Saw, if you do fantasy baseball. I'm not sure you do anything like that.
I stopped years ago because that's too time consuming, man. I go down a rabbit hole with fantasy baseball.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. We throwing darts at the wall with tinfoil hats. That's what we're doing. But no, just the Xbox Nintendo potential. As far as them doing something, does anything really make sense? Any type of collaboration? Just from your, once again, Sal, we're shooting the ducks here. So just where are you at with that? Just hearing things in the background about possible collaboration. So anything on your radar, anything that you think can even happen in the near future?
I mean, honestly, man, it is one of those things that they've been very chummy the past couple of years. They've Phil has talked about this synergy that they have with them, where it's like, and Nintendo's in that position because of the uniqueness of the Switch. They're kind of the de facto secondary console. No matter what other consoles you have in your house, you probably have a Switch, whether for your kids or whatever the case may be, but there's a Switch in the vicinity, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And that puts them in a position where, they can partner either. And this is something that years ago would have never happened, but because of how open, gaming seems to be getting at this point, the possibilities for them to do things together are, make more sense. And especially for the Switch, where they can have a relationship with one of the other two big console makers, where they each provide for each other what the other doesn't have. And in this case, the Xbox is a perfect fit. Obviously we've seen Cuphead, we've seen Ori, both games that aren't Xbox first party games, but they're published by Microsoft on that platform. And I think that type of relationship will continue. I think, any sort of smaller games that come out of Xbox Game Studios, ID at Xbox that fit on the Switch as a platform, I think we'll see those types of deals continue in the future. We've seen Switch sort of dabble a little bit in sort of cloud gaming and stuff with, the cloud versions of Hitman and Control and Resident Evil 7. So obviously a relationship with Xbox on the back end with some sort of Azure thing is something that could improve, kind of the synergy between the two companies. And that's something that can happen where it sort of improves, Nintendo on the back end, where that if there's a criticism of Nintendo and the Switch is that they're so far behind in terms of what
hardware.
Exactly, hardware and connectivity options that the other two hardware manufacturers offer, and I think that's by design, right? I think they pride themselves on being the machine that you go to just to play games. They don't really want you watching YouTube, although they don't really want you on Hulu. But I think if any of the rumors are true, with the Nintendo Super Switch or whatever you want to call it, that's coming down the pipeline. If the rumors about what this machine can do, if the rumors about DLSS being in there and sort of bringing the Switch up to par with what the new consoles can do, because DLSS for me is witchcraft. I think if they're able to get that to run on that machine, what we'll be able to see running on that machine natively is something that years ago we wouldn't even considered as a possibility. So if that stuff is true, and you can actually get more actual games that run natively on that console, I can see certain deals happening with bigger titles, not necessarily just your Oris and your Cupheads, right? And then the one that everybody points to, right? The Game Pass. Put Game Pass on. Right? and that makes sense. But when you really think about it, we have to think about the logistics of getting Game Pass onto there. If you think
goodness.
Without all of this other stuff with the DLSS or whatever, just thinking about the Switch as it is right now, when you think about putting Game Pass on there, well, obviously it would have to be something that's catered for Nintendo. So obviously it would only be Xbox stuff, right? First party stuff, things that are exclusive to Xbox, because obviously all the third party stuff on there, in some way, shape, or form, Nintendo probably has some sort of deal on their own platform for that. So you can't double up on that, right? And if you're talking about the Switch as it stands right now, if you talk about Game Pass, then you're talking about xCloud, because that's really the only way you can get all of that on there. So the guts of the Switch, the infrastructure of the Switch, all of that stuff would have to work in a way where Game Pass could run on it in a way that is complementary to what Game Pass is. You don't want to put
a bad experience.
Yeah, you don't want a bad experience on there, because that doesn't suit Nintendo, and it doesn't suit Xbox. But the funny thing about this is that I don't see it going the other way, right? And when we talk about a possible sort
Nintendo is not sharing anything.
Nah. So it is interesting that there's so many rumors about this happening, because it's like it feels like it would only be one way, right? And I don't know, again, I know Microsoft wants to put, at the end of the day, they want to have Game Pass everywhere that it could possibly, anybody that says yes to Game Pass, they're going to figure out a way to get Game Pass on there, right? But when you talk about your competitors, the conversation changes a little bit. So it is, I don't see Nintendo games ever coming the other way. So again, throwing darts at a wall, throwing things at a wall. A lot of this is pie in the sky. I really don't know what a collaboration between them looks like, except the stuff that I've mentioned that they've done already, which is super exciting then, because I just don't know, like, this is something really out of left field. And if, they're saying that, listen, we're later on in the year, we're going to hear about this. This is going to be huge no matter what it is. And maybe it is just some underlying, whatever Azure thing or whatever. But even that in terms of long-term ramifications is huge, because I think Nintendo has been able to find a niche for themselves where they're still in the conversation with the other big two, but they're so different that it doesn't feel like you're overlapping. Like when you look at why Nintendo sort of fell off in the GameCube generation, in the Wii U generation, they were competing head to head with Xbox and Sony with inferior machines, right? And with machines that kind of did the same thing. And they figured it out with the Wii. Is like, we're going to give them something completely different, cheaper, and it's going to be our own lane. So we can compete in terms of the money. Like, we'll be there competing with them, but the product is totally different. And I think they made the right choice with the Switch to say, hey, this is going to be this hybrid portable thing. We're going to lean into the things that we know we do well. And it's, they're making off like bandits because of it. So it's interesting, man.
Yeah, they're in a unique space. We talk about Nintendo quite a bit. We get to Nintendo at least once or twice a month, so we definitely show Nintendo some love, good and bad.
I love it because our crowd wants to shut it up. Me and Kyle want to talk about it, and our crowd does not want to talk about it.
No, man, I'm on Nintendo ass. Look, I'm not having it. No, Nintendo got to hear from me. We talk about it quite often on this show, for sure. But no. Let's go ahead and throw this over to Pong. We'll roll with you on this, man. We've been hearing things, Pong, but through the grapevine, I should say. But I don't know. I mean, where are we at on this? They've shown a lot of love. Sav made a ton of great points regarding just the relationship, but does it make sense in the long run? And to me, honestly, I'm right with Sav. The first thing I thought of was, well, Nintendo's not doing anything for Xbox. I mean, traditionally. I don't know. I mean, there are some new people up there as far as management. Nintendo, things could be a bit different. Reggie's not there, so I'm not sure. Maybe this new Nintendo is a bit more open. They're a very traditional company. So,
Correct.
you know,
Yep.
they so I don't know. Where you at on this, Paul?
Well, obviously, Sav made a lot of good points. It's always sunny in Speculation Town, so I love going here because this is the fun part, right? So this part is just dreaming, but obviously there's something there. Okay, nobody can deny that Phil's been working this relationship for a long time. We know that they have gotten closer as the years have gone by. We've seen the characters enter Smash Brothers, with Banjo and Kazooie, and so I think this is something that he is working towards. And obviously, I think the end game would be to get Game Pass on there. But I think we need to start with baby steps. And I think what we're seeing is a culmination of this work that's being done behind the scenes. And I think that obviously where there's smoke, there is fire. And I think that what we're seeing is just the beginning. And there's a lot between here and the end point that has to happen for something like Game Pass to actually work. Number one, like Sav pointed out. Number two, to be accepted. And I think what we're going to see first, I think the Instagram post by Xbox was probably the biggest hint of what we're going to see right up front with the picture of Mario dressed up in the Chief armor. I think we're going to see Chief enter Smash Brothers before Halo Infinite drops.
So?
Oh, yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
I've talked about that. We've talked about that so many times, Fuzz, and Fuzz, you can definitely back me up on this show so many times that made sense forever. That's something I've thought of 5, 6, 7 years now. But go ahead. I don't want to steal your time.
No, that's okay. I think they've got 2 more characters to reveal. It makes sense to do it before Halo Infinite drops. Again, hype train. It's going to be off the rails by the time November hits, but you want to keep building, and obviously you want to introduce people that may, as crazy as it sounds, there's kids out there playing that have never played a Halo game, right? There are kids out there. I mean, that's why they put, Chief in Fortnite, was to draw the attention and get people interested who may have never touched a Halo game, and to get them to want to find out about Master Chief and what it's all about. And it works. Okay. All the studies show that this stuff works. That's why they do it. I mean, Sony did it with Kratos. Okay. For the same exact reason.
They're doing Alloy in there now from Horizon.
Correct. Alloy's dropping in there now. So I think we're going to see Chief hit Smash Brothers before Halo Infinite drops. I think that's probably already a done deal.
That's going to be great. That would be
great. Poor Sakurai. Like they have that man tied to a freaking radiator.
Dude, if they drop another JRPG character on Smash, they're going to riot Nintendo.
They will. Another character swap. Come
on, bro. You're killing the Nintendo guys over there. They're drowning over there. I swear to God.
They could use a little bit of that. They can use a little bit of that. Come on now. They're spoiled. Anyways, I think that's where you start. I think behind the scenes, as Sav also again talked about, maybe Microsoft is going to help Nintendo actually come to the current age with some of their infrastructure, right? Because we talked about this, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago, when it came out about the internet. Their internet was from like 20 years ago, 21 years ago, 18, something like that. So again, I think that Microsoft behind the scenes could be doing stuff like that to help Nintendo. Again, this is all goodwill stuff. And I know it doesn't make sense on the surface. When people look at this, they're like, yeah, but what is Nintendo going to do? How are they going to reciprocate all this nicety that, Xbox is showing them? You know what? If you think of it in business terms, if they eventually do get a version of Game Pass, a curated version, like Sav was talking about, a Game Pass onto a Switch that has, let's say, probably by then close to 100 million, maybe 150 million users. Okay. That's all Microsoft sees. That's all they care about. They don't care about any other reciprocation, because that is going to open up a whole new customer base. You're talking about a lot of people joining and having the opportunity to come into the ecosystem. Even if it's not the full ecosystem, it still will be something, and that's all Microsoft cares about. That's going to be huge for their long-term goals.
Yeah, right. 100%. The reciprocation is the
Yes.
reach of Nintendo and
Correct.
the Switch. The Switch came in and just ran right over the Xbox One. Like,
it's not even funny. It's crazy. But yeah, so I think that's what we're going to eventually see down the road. And I think that Phil's been hinting at this, a Switch on his shelf. You know, everybody likes to talk about that. I think he's just hinting at a deeper relationship that's forming. And let's be real here. Nintendo's built their own pond that they're swimming in by themselves. They don't really see anybody as a competitor. They're doing stuff that nobody else is really attempting to do. And so again, for somebody to work with somebody like an Xbox and Microsoft is not something out of the realm of possibility, because it's only going to benefit both companies. Think about this. On the Nintendo side, not only do they gain and give their fan base the option and another option to go play games that they wouldn't have access to normally by using something like Game Pass, or let's just say when it starts out, I believe it'll be xCloud first once the server blades are upgraded. If this new Switch comes out and all that good stuff is working properly, I think we'll see xCloud first before we see Game Pass. But I think that gives their fans something else. But then also for Nintendo, a lot of people question, well, why would Nintendo do it? Well, first, obviously Microsoft's going to cut them in. That's going to be part of the deal. But then there's going to be people like me who have zero interest in Nintendo. Again, I give them all the respect in the world. I respect everything they do over there and what they mean to the industry, but I'm just not a Nintendo fan. None of the games really, there's a couple games that do, but not a lot of the games appeal to me, so I don't go buy their products. However, if Game Pass...
As a portable Xbox, though.
Exactly. However, you put Game Pass on a Switch, I'm going and getting one. It is the perfect portable Xbox console, right? It is the perfect setup. Yes, I play. I've got a Razer Kishi. I play on my cell phone, but I would go buy a Switch because then it would make sense and it give me value in it that I would be able to play Game Pass, and then I would go buy some of their games that maybe I'm interested in, the few that I am, right? So then it opens up new customers that way. And I know I'm not alone. I know people personally that have said the exact same thing. They will not buy a Switch.
Saying that right now.
Right, exactly. But they would go do it if this ever happened. So I think, again, baby steps. It's not an instant done deal that we're just going to have an announcement by the end of the year. Hey, Game Pass is coming, to Nintendo end of the year, and that, it's going to be available 2022. I don't think we see that. I think we see that down the road, But for right now, we're just going to see little things, like Chief entering Smash Brothers. We might hear about some business deals on the back end stuff come out about Azure, maybe Microsoft helping them with that infrastructure, and then slowly work. And like I said, xCloud first would make sense, just to have it be able to be playable on there. I mean, again, look at Microsoft is working with Apple right now to get it to work. Okay. People would have said that was crazy years ago, like never in a million years, but they're actively working with each other to try to make this work and make it happen. So so again, just, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Now, if you really want to go into speculation town, co-developed games down the road, I think is also something they could look at. There are IPs, and I talked about this on Boom Show earlier in the week too. We went down the speculation road as well. But there are IPs, Banjo and Kazooie, Viva Pinata, things that would be perfect on both ecosystems, both consoles. Why would you not let Nintendo, the experts in that field, with the, let's say the E for everyone type games, they've got people that could do it. If Microsoft doesn't have the studios or can't find a studio to pull it off, why not go into a co-development and have them produce a game and bring back franchises like that would be beneficial for both? Nintendo can publish their side, Microsoft can publish their side. Microsoft can fund it, Nintendo can put the manpower on it. I think that would be a beautiful thing.
Wow. I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Oh,
imagine that. I mean, they don't seem to want to make it themselves. So give me Banjo 3, whatever you call it.
No, for
that would
sure.
be amazing.
Right. That's hot for sure. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your quick opinion on this, man. Nintendo Xbox relationship, man. What you seeing down the line?
Well, Sovereign and Pong pretty much knocked out of the park on all of those. Like the big thing ever since we saw the Switch on Phil's shelf, something had to eventually be come out as far as what they were working on in the background. Always wondered why Nintendo didn't make an announcement that they're switching over to Azure. I mean, Sony's already signed up for it, although I don't think we've seen the fruits of the labor from that yet. But considering, like we had talked about not too long ago, with them being, behind the 8 ball, 18-year-old, networking system, it's about time for them to step into the current generation, at least on the online aspect. Even though, I get that a lot of Nintendo players aren't really as big on the online, except for those, possibly playing Smash, and they're not doing like a direct link type of thing. But yeah, for the most part, I'm surprised that we didn't get Chief or that they didn't have Chief on Smash sooner. Like, I thought the announcement for Minecraft, I thought that was going to be Chief, especially since I think at the time, just before Minecraft was announced, we were getting hints that Chief was going to Fortnite along with Kratos. Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, he's probably also going to Smash, and it wound up being, Minecraft. But, it's only a matter of time before Chief goes over there. But I like Pong's idea as far as them, co-developing a game, which, something like Banjo-Kazooie would be huge. I mean, it's always one of those things. It's like, oh, what game would you like to see? And there's going to be I would say a good third of the people are going to say something along the lines of a Banjo-Kazooie type of game. Yeah. Or like even with Phil talking about like a E for Everyone, games, or when it makes sense to add more developers that can produce those types of games and not have to just, dump it on Rare to make those, that would be, a perfect fix for what they're looking for. That could be the, Nintendo giving a little bit to the Xbox crowd, even though that might not be, the full transaction. But I think it's going to be more so that you'll see either a curated Game Pass or xCloud setup for the future Switch, considering it's going to be a little bit better hardware, handle a little bit higher graphics and whatnot. The DLSS type setup and things along those lines will definitely be a welcome advance, and then that will make it easier for some of those games that are streaming. But we're going to have to, every time there's something on the shelf, unless it's like a crushed can of Coca-Cola or like some ramen noodle cups or something like that, we got to look at what's on Phil's shelf and know that, okay, something is in the works, however obscure it may be. We're going to hear something coming from it, fairly soon. And, that there's, both of them are going to be at E3. So we'll see how soon we'll hear about it. Because like Nintendo coming back to E3, that's huge in itself. And the fact that they're both going to be there, well, just kind of lends itself to them making some sort of nice announcement during that whole week. So definitely looking forward to E3. Definitely looking forward to hearing more info on what they're working on together and what we'll get in the end. But like Pong, Nintendo doesn't really interest me as far as having a third console, but I know there are quite a few people that the Switch is their second console, and a bigger screen than my cell phone. Yeah, I would definitely pick one up as far as having that as my portable Xbox at that point. But yeah, definitely looking forward to what the official announcement is going to be. But Speculation Town is nice and sunny right now, and I like the idea of Game Pass being on there, and or xCloud as far as being a portable Xbox at that point, and potentially some sort of collaboration on a E for Everyone type of game. That would be awesome.
All right, well, let's go ahead and throw this over to Centurion before we wrap this last topic up, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat watching live, man. Lord Saab got the people coming out today, man. Appreciate you. Shout out to everybody in the chat right now. I'm do some quick Zinc. Shout out to you, Spooky Sprocket, Deck. I see you lurking down there, Pong, in the chat. Brap, shout out to you, Brap Rain. Everybody just hanging out, Mav. Everybody, man. Shout out to you if I miss you, Enzo. Appreciate the support, man. So let's go and throw this over to you, Centurion, when we wrap this topic up, man. Where you at with the relationship with Xbox and Nintendo?
I don't like it one bit, man. I'm a Sacred Garden kind of guy.
Shut up.
God.
That's right.
So I can't say any better than anybody here, other than let's look at what Nintendo has been doing. We just brought it up actually in the the intros, the idea of legacy. And one thing that Wow. One thing that Nintendo has really hit the nail on the head is legacy. They have actually been able to craft titles and keep these titles relevant for generations. I mean, they are still pulling in new fans to these titles to this day. So obviously, you know, I always hear the jokes coming out of everybody about, you know, Nintendo creates their hardware to actually make a profit. There's a huge, that's why Nintendo's hardware is totally different than most everybody's, because where the other guys are willing to make $5 if they're lucky or take a $50 hit in the pocket, they're a big enough company to actually absorb that, where Nintendo doesn't do stuff like that. That's why they were releasing consoles that worked on component when other guys were using HDMIs. So this is always something that people have always made jokes about. And the world of gaming is honestly changing. And Nintendo probably has this idea of, we got to be able to pivot at any moment for something that is completely unforeseeable. Nobody completely saw the pandemic unfolding the way it did. And then as a result of the pandemic, all of a sudden gaming becomes like a global sensation, and you can't put keep anything on the shelves when it comes to gaming related products. So I'm pretty sure Nintendo is like, we got to somehow protect our legacy. And by having these relationships established, you're never going to back yourself into a corner. Well, let's shut doors because we forgot to make friends with people when we had a chance. So I'm not saying that Nintendo is going to go out of business, but it's the idea of, technically we have the trinity of gaming: Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation. And we are all happy as consumers with keeping this trinity going. So in a way, these three companies need to coexist and have established friendships, because if any one of these three companies disappears, it's going to fundamentally change gaming. And I just like the way it is. I don't need companies like Google or Amazon or Tencent, for God's sakes, coming in and creating some ripples in the pond that happens to be a nice coexistence.
Well, you are a Sacred Garden guy. Sheesh.
No, I agree with. I agree in that regard.
Garden, as in like all of it, like, you know, it's a big pond, it's a big garden.
No, I get it. I'm pulling your chain. No, but I get what you. I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
I don't need some Jim Ryan coming over here chopping down the bushes and stuff like that.
Get off the soapbox. Get off the soapbox.
Hey, are you trying to make Soft feel at home? Throwing some smoke there. Is that what we're doing?
My goodness.
I agree totally. In that, I want to keep Amazon and I want to keep them away, because them getting into the space in a way that is so disruptive.
Dude, earlier today, Amazon just canceled another game.
They canceled the Lord of the Rings MMO, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's just one of those things where, and what I'm kind of glad about, and this is messed up to say, but
yeah, I know, right?
It is one of those things where it seems like they jumped in, they saw an opportunity to make money, but for whatever reason, they didn't understand the amount of work that goes into creating a franchise, sustaining a franchise, and the sort of the trials and tribulations that go along with bringing a game to market. And it's weird because they have a bunch of gaming people that they've brought in to handle that, but it seems like at the core, you know, when you talk about who's at the head of running this thing, their gaming thing, it feels like it's still Amazon execs that are just sort of trying to pigeonhole their thinking into making a game, and it doesn't seem to be working for them. So it seems like it's like a rude awakening for them. But at the same time, I'm glad because what it's forcing the big three, right? The PlayStation, the Xbox, and Nintendo to learn how to work better in unison and sort of protect what they have together, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
They're still competitors, but you know, Phil wasn't joking when he was talking about we have to stave off, like, our competitors are Amazon and Google with Stadia, because we have to, and what he meant was that you have to sort of stave them off because they just have money to throw around.
Oh, yeah.
The great part about it is that, yes, they have money to throw around, but nobody wants to keep investing into something that they don't see they don't want to invest into something that apparently that doesn't have that immediate return. And gaming doesn't give you that.
Oh, no, that's gaming is slow money. That's very slow money.
Can you imagine over at Google Stadia, some Rico Suave guy walking into the conference room with this Kevin Costner attitude, like going, "If we build it, they will come."
They will come.
Yeah, no, it's definitely slow money.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's called Phil Harrison. That's the.
Yeah. This Phil the Axeman Harrison.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna keep this thing going.
Oh, come on! You know, Phil Harrison is over there with the executives over at EA, throwing darts at a dartboard, figuring out which ones we're gonna can next.
Man. He's ridiculous. Anyway, let's keep this thing moving, man. Keep it moving. We're gonna keep this wheel greased up. So we're gonna be talking a little bit more Xbox, and this is another essentially pie in the sky. I think this is not so much a pie in the sky; it's just more of an inevitability. That's my big word for today, by the way. I'm not saying that again. All right. So you get one a day. No, I'm just playing. But no, for sure. I just think it's more of an inevitability with Xbox as far as third-party deals. We've been hearing a lot. Obviously, the big one would be Kojima. That's the more recent we've been hearing about possible, connection, maybe a game, maybe they're publishing something. So just and we forget about. This is something that's pretty standard every generation. We're going to get some third-party, collaborations and/or deals. So just looking at what Xbox already has done first-party, it's crazy to think that I've almost forgotten that they have other relationships as well.
Right. They've
done so much with the first-party. I've completely forgotten about these other deals that they're going to make and new relationships that they're going to have because of the first-party deals that they've made. So we'll start with you, Sav, on this. We're hearing a lot of different things from third party. Obviously, Kojima was the big one. But just what do you think about those relationships going forward? And, how excited, just the excitement around the Xbox brand and what does that give them? What kind of leverage does that give them? Because they haven't always had the best relationship with third parties. So,
yeah, I think the strength of Game Pass, the fact that, the Bethesda acquisition, the ZeniMax acquisition, it's given people a confidence in that Xbox is in it for the long haul. And I think that's what they wanted. I think coming out of the Xbox One generation felt like a generation that sort of happened by accident. And it felt like they were on their last legs, and it didn't feel like Microsoft proper cared a lot about Xbox. And that, behind the scenes, that was kind of the case.
Yeah.
Until you have Phil jump in there. And, I give a lot of credit to King, man, because Phil has been his man from the beginning. And I wasn't a believer. But what I did like about Phil from the beginning was that he's a gamer. He understands and he loves games. He appreciates them. He respects them. He respects legacy. So I said, okay, we have the right guy in there in terms of messaging and in terms of
his morals
when it comes to what we care about as gamers. But I wasn't so sure that he can get the job done, because it's when you're balancing businessman and being a sort of gamer centric boss, it's tough because you have to do both things, and you're going to make tough decisions that people are not happy with. But I think the things that he's done to show that he cares about where Xbox goes, that he wants to, the introducing Game Pass and making that such a consumer friendly thing, and then spending oodles of money to make sure that they have games in that service that matter, and they're gonna bring people in. I think it's just the confidence that they've shown and the things that they've done. Obviously, with finally getting a third party game day and date that's pretty big in Outriders. What they did with MLB The Show, with obviously the show coming to Xbox is one thing, but to have it day and date on Game Pass is just, pardon my language, but fucking ruthless. It's ruthless. It's a ruthless move that I did not know he had in him. And when he did that, I'm like, all right, I'm done. I can no longer say anything about Phil. I think he is the man for the job. And I think people see that, and the confidence in Xbox is continuing to grow. Now, in terms of these third-party deals, I think there's a lot of interesting things that we can glean from this, because when you look at the success of an Outriders, that tells you everything you need to know about the game that can thrive in Game Pass, right? So when we look at the games that are potentially coming out this year and maybe early into 2022, certain games that feel obvious to me are the Aliens Fireteam game, right? It's a
Yeah.
multiplayer game, right? Obviously another series that has a big sort of kind of loving thing with the Xbox ecosystem is Left 4 Dead, right? So we have Back 4 Blood coming out this year. That's another series that I think could benefit from being day one in Game Pass. Another game that people have sort of likened to Breath of the Wild as a sort of single player thing is Biomutant. Biomutant is a game that's had positive buzz since it was first shown.
Man, years ago.
And that was years ago. And to see, but I still don't hear. I see the press talking about it. I don't see, other podcasts necessarily talking about it as much. If that game hits the way people expect it to,
oh man, it can be big.
Putting it on a platform like Game Pass where you're gonna have 20 plus million eyes on it day one, I think could do amazing things for that franchise. And then another one that I thought about that makes sense, and you might laugh at this, is the second coming of Cyberpunk. I think
completely
putting Cyberpunk on Game Pass when the next gen update comes out, putting that in there for your base as a sort of mea culpa. Here you go. This is the game you were supposed to get. But here, if you have Game Pass, no extra charge, here you go. I think that would do a lot to bring that game back into a positive light for a lot of gamers. I don't know what would happen on the PlayStation side, but because I don't know, that relationship doesn't. I don't know. It just does. It feels weird. Whatever's going on the PlayStation side, PlayStation seems to be just slapping CDPR around. So, but at least on the Xbox side, I think that game, that the next gen version coming into Game Pass day and date, I think would be ideal. But obviously. But the multiplayer stuff, definitely. I think when you bring a game that you're not 100% sure how it's going to land with a certain base, especially with so many games now being, games as a service, looter shooter type games. We saw, that, Anthem could never find.
Sheesh.
And honestly, I think that if Anthem had come into Game Pass day and date, even it being as bare bones as it was, I think the sort of engagement with the game would have shown EA that maybe we should keep investing in this and growing it, and we could make something out of it. I just think that the Game Pass argument works so well for these games where you're not sure how they're going to hit, or you feel they should hit a certain way, but for whatever reason, saturation in the market, whatever the case may be, you just never know. Like Cyberpunk is the perfect example of you just never know.
Yeah.
They messed up a lot, but you still just never know. And one game that I forgot to mention is the rumor of Battlefield, right? The new Battlefield. Battlefield 6 is a game, like obviously Battlefield has its hardcore fans, but it's never since the renaissance of Call of Duty, which was Modern Warfare, 4, since that renaissance of Call of Duty, Battlefield has never really been able to keep up in that regard as being this mega franchise. It has its fans, its loyal fans, but it hasn't grown in the same way that Call of Duty has. So to have that day and date, and obviously with the collaboration that we have with EA Play on Game Pass, those conversations seem to be easier to have. Maybe we see that. So there are a lot of interesting things that Xbox can do to supplement in Game Pass that would be big for gamers while Xbox gets their first party stuff ready. And I think this is something that's going to be the norm moving forward. Regardless of whatever release cadence Xbox is able to achieve with their first party stuff, I think they've realized that these type of deals, even though Phil has said, I don't like doing these type of deals, I don't like taking games away from people necessarily. I think it's just when you see what PlayStation does, you have to sort of compete in that realm. So I think they're going to continue to do that. So, and Game Pass, the more Game Pass subscribers that you start to get, the better argument you can make to the third party is like, listen, you're actually losing money not putting your game on Game Pass. Like literally.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. But if I see any one of those games in the service, I think it's going to be a big boon for them.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and throw this over. We'll switch up the order a little bit here. We'll go with you, Fuzz, next. Just get your quick opinion on, just kind of what's going on, regarding the possible third-party deals. We talked about Kojima. That obviously that's been a big one since it's the most recent. But just in general, we've talked about so much. We've seen so much investment, attention, to their first party that I've damn near forgotten about some of the other relationships that Xbox has already. Just that they've built over time, and Phil's been able to foster and essentially cultivate to get to where they're at now. And it seems that every year they're getting a little bit better and better. And they seem to be coming out of left field. Like Bandai and all these other companies all of a sudden are real chummy with Xbox, and they drop games unexpectedly first on Xbox. So those type of relationships, we're seeing more and more of those things. So where you at with third party, and just what do you see coming down the pipeline?
Well, first, I'd like to piggyback off of Sovereign's comment with Phil. Like, I always thought of him as the kumbaya type of leader, and I never knew the other side of his aggressiveness. Let's just say, like the whole MLB thing, hands down, that put the kumbaya stuff to bed quick. Like I never thought that was in his blood, but that was good to see. And because of that, now it kind of opens up a whole slew of opportunities. I wouldn't say it opens up a lot of opportunities, but almost anything is on the table now. And shout out to Jez Corden as far as his recent post on, like, with the little swirly thing, as far as like, don't count out the global publishing and stuff like that. As far as,
we saw that. Yeah,
like with third party deals and things. And at first, like, a few people were like, well, oh yeah, Blue Dragon, or no, not even Blue Dragon, but they were also talking about I hope I'm not butchering this man's name, Sakaguchi.
Sakaguchi.
And him wanting to work with Xbox on something, but instead of it being like one of the other titles, he wanted to kind of do Blue Dragon. And like, I didn't play Blue Dragon when it first came out, and I watched the video and I saw like a little swirly mark for the loading thing, and I was like, oh, maybe Jez is talking about maybe Blue Dragon will come along. But after reading his article about like that it's going to be a prominent publisher or something along those lines, I'm kind of thinking it's now going to be Blizzard. And to use King David's term with Phil being a Bond villain of some sort.
I have to contend with that, because the Bond villains are never as smart as they think they are, right? And they always die at the end.
True.
I think he's more like a Kaiser Soze. Like
nice.
Yeah.
He's fooling everybody.
Well, and to go along with that, I know that there may seem like there's a little bit of bad blood between Ibarra and Phil, but maybe Ibarra is kind of like a plant over at Blizzard. And I think, what's his name? Ferguson's over there too now.
Yeah, Ferguson's over there too.
Perfect, conglomeration. Well, not conglomeration, but collaboration with Blizzard. I could definitely see,
Blizzard is
Xbox
interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I mean, and that goes back to, like, again, imagine a Diablo 4 day and date in Game Pass.
Yeah,
like Diablo 4 is gonna sell gangbusters as it is, but you put it in front of 30 million people, it's just a different look. It's a completely different look, and it's again, you put anything in that formula, and you're gonna get more eyes on it than you ever had before. And I don't understand the logistics of it behind it, because this whole idea of putting something in Game Pass and it selling more than it would have otherwise is baffling to me, because it's like, who's buying it? But it's just the case. Like, people, it'll be in Game Pass for a limited amount of time, and people love it, play it, love it, and once it's out of Game Pass, we're like, wait, I have to have this game, and they purchase it, and it just. And for whatever reason, it also pushes purchases on other platforms. Like, I don't know how many games I have on Game Pass on Xbox that I also have on my Switch, just because. And it's, I don't know, man.
I think a lot of games now having cross progression also helps with that. So it's like you test it out on Xbox, you like it, You get it at a discount. You wind up buying it. Your friends on your friends list see you playing that game. It's a multiplayer or a co-op game. They want to have it if they've not already signed up for Game Pass. So they wind up buying it there. And then you might have other friends on other platforms. And it's like, oh, well, cross progression. Well, I don't necessarily have to start all over.
Yeah.
I'll just carry my character over to, on my Switch or on my PlayStation and play with friends over there. So it's definitely a whole new ball game as far as when it comes to how these third parties can now reach more eyes. Like before, it was like, oh yeah, we'll put it on the shelves, we'll put it in the digital stores, and we'll hope we'll get like 3 million over the weekend or 4 million in a month, and go from there. But now it's like, okay, we got 20 million people playing it day and date. Hopefully the servers hold up. And then with that many people playing it and everybody posting screenshots on Twitter and Instagram and videos on YouTube, and everybody's looking on the best builds and things like that on other videos, and just the buzz on that game spreads like wildfire at that point, as long as it's not too buggy or doesn't have any major breaks in it. But the word of mouth at that point, I think, just carries it everywhere. And then it's like the guy that was on PC that doesn't want to bother with Game Pass on PC is like, you know what? Considering all my friends are playing this now, I think I'll pick it up now. So I think that whole Game Pass model, as much as some people will say, oh, it's not sustainable, I'm considering they have a line of people waiting, or a line of developers and publishers waiting to get into Game Pass. I would have to say the numbers that they're showing them and these figures as far as most played game, best sold game, or most sold or copy sold type of thing, there's got to be something to it. So yeah, these whole third party deals, I definitely feel we're going to see a lot more bigger titles that would have waited like 3 months or 6 months before even considering coming into Game Pass. Like, not the public or talk about the mark of the beast type of thing, but there's like these games with sixes in them that I know or just have a gut feeling are going to be there. Like, so I've already talked about Battlefield 6, Far Cry 6, I think is going to be there, and then Rainbow Six Siege, Parasite. Those 3 games are almost like the perfect ones. Like, considering Far Cry had the postponement, it's not generating as much buzz. It's going to be a Far Cry game, and you have your dedicated fans, but then you have some that are like, oh, it's just another Ubisoft title with towers. But if they can play it and then get into it, and then they get that rhythm going where they're now finishing it or doing the co-op and going through missions, they're going to wind up picking up the game, or their buddy's going to wind up picking up the game because they're playing it on Game Pass and they want to do co-op. So I totally see that taking off. I totally see Rainbow Six Siege, Parasite taking off that way. And then Battlefield 6. I mean, if they're going to have, I think they were talking about 160 players in matches or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that's insane.
So to have Game Pass where you have a 20 million plus base, 30 million plus base probably by the time it's released, just on one platform right off the bat. Plus, some carryover to PC and stuff, and then you have all those that are on PlayStation as well. And if I think they're talking about doing crossplay as well, yeah, it makes sense now, considering you won't have to necessarily spend as much marketing dollars being the publisher, considering Microsoft is going to push that game on the front page of the Game Pass landing page or the Game Pass app on a lot of their customers' phones. So it's these big deals. I kind of feel Blizzard's going to be one of them that we'll see something coming. Game Pass is going to start picking up things from Ubisoft, which there's even that rumor of that coming in. The Game Pass is like a Vault or maybe a Uplay type of thing. In any event, just having Ubisoft games in there, which some have already made appearances, would be huge. But global publishing in general, considering, I'm pretty excited to see what's coming, because we already saw like the one, I forget the name of the game now. Oh, great. The one where it was like it's going over a course of time where there's like a robbery at a gas station or something. I know. I forget that. It almost has like a Telltale or.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, it has.
You're aren't you in a vehicle? You're just driving. Yeah,
you're in like the back of a pickup or something like that. Yeah. And I think there's some sort of.
I don't remember the name though. I don't remember the name specifically.
but I know that's in the works, and then you got them working with Remedy on the whole Crossfire X. So yeah, there's a lot of third party deals that they haven't yet announced, and hopefully come E3 or even before E3, we'll get some inkling of what some of those are for these coming months and stuff. So
all right,
that's all I got.
All right, well, let's throw this over to Pong. Get your opinion on just the third party stuff, Pong, and just where they're at with the they had a lot going on. Like I said, with first party, man, I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot. I really did. I mean, there's been so much investment in first party. That's all we've been talking about. But would you agree, Saad? Would you agree, Pong? At least the last 18 months? I mean, nothing but first party. I mean,
at least the talk around it, right? There haven't been a lot of releases per se, but not the excitement around it has been the focus, right? About potential, what Bethesda bringing to the table. Right? Starfield this year, is Halo Infinite going to be ready and stuff like that? What do the smaller teams have in store? The compulsions and stuff like that. When are we going to see the speculation that we could have gotten maybe which was Senua Saga this year? I don't think that's going to happen, but again, it could be a surprise. You never know. So there's a lot of talk around the excitement of what can come out of first party, but to the point that you do forget about what's happening with third party. And then when you start to see, the Outriders and the MLB The Show starts that conversation, you're like, wait a minute, they're in, and this is the thing. And we didn't know their willingness to invest in that until we saw that. And it's just like, okay, so you guys are doing this as well. So it's like, okay, in a sense, we're kind of getting spoiled now because it's like, okay, what's the next one that's coming? King said something about God of War is going to be there. And you know what? I've gotten to the point, never say never anymore. The things that I've seen in the last 6 months in gaming has taught me don't ever discount anything anymore because anything is possible. We haven't thought about this stuff, but apparently, they're in it. They're in it when it comes to this third party stuff.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, so this is huge. I don't know why every show seems to turn into a Game Pass advertisement, but it's hard to ignore. There's so many good points have been said between Sav and Fuzzy, but I guess it is crazy to think about what Game Pass has done to flip the table so quickly when it comes to the power position between Microsoft and Sony. And I know a lot of people will say, mindshare worldwide still on Sony's side, right? They
absolutely. For sure.
They still have 140, 120, 130, 140 million consoles from PS4 out there. But as everybody does know, every generation is a fresh start. Every generation is, from scratch, and anything can happen. And Game Pass itself, because of the position they put it in, because they've been working on it now for years, and it was the right timing that they've gotten to the position that they're at, that we are sitting here and talking about over 20 million people, what we assume to be over 20 million at this point, subscribers with a service that has not seen a AAA release, a first party AAA release in a long time. Right? This is something that's insane. And what this has done is now put Microsoft is actually, I believe, and again, this is my opinion, and we can have a debate about it, whether or not it's true. They are now in a position of power because of the simple fact that Game Pass now has proven itself with titles like Outriders, that it has the power to change the actual trajectory of a game. And actually improve and give it more weight than maybe it would have done if it had not dropped into Game Pass. And it has changed the narrative that you have to do third-party exclusive deals. Something interesting that Savs talked about was Phil's old statements where he talked about that he does not like exclusives, that he doesn't want to keep games away from people. And people have used that. I think, and again, this is my personal opinion, but I think that Phil, in a chess-like move with Game Pass, actually did do away with most exclusivity deals, because now if you're a publisher, if you're a developer and you want to do a deal with Microsoft, you do a Game Pass deal to drop it day and date, but Xbox and Phil and his team is going, publish it anywhere else, just like Outriders. Go ahead, publish it over on Sony. We don't care. You do that. All we want is your game day and date and Game Pass. Oh, by the way, look at the numbers and look at what it's going to bring you. That itself changes that entire system that was in place from the old days, where, you know, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo back in the day, whoever was buying exclusivity and keeping it locked to a certain platform for a period of time. If you're a developer, a publisher, when you look at this stuff now, what makes more sense? We can go ahead and publish it on Steam. We can go ahead and publish it on whatever console we want to. All we got to do is drop it day and date in Game Pass. They're going to give us money up front for it. And plus, we're seeing all these great stats come out of this about what it's going to do by putting our game in front of 20, 30 million eyes instantaneously.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. It is now, and I've said this plenty of times, but this is my point. I'm going to die on this hill. There will come a time and point, and maybe we're already there. Probably not, but I don't think we're far away. Whatever that number is, when we hit critical mass, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, there will become a day where it is a greater risk to not put your game in Game Pass than it is to actually put it in Game Pass. And when that day happens, it changes everything, okay? Because at that point, then, and we're already hearing that there's a line waiting to get into Game Pass, just wait until the big boys all get on board 100% with Game Pass, and every single developer is going, hey, knocking on Phil's door. Hey, can we get a schedule? When can we drop this in Game Pass? When can we do this? That is going to be the day where everything changes for good. And again, the power is with Microsoft right now. So when we're talking about third-party deals, you have to include the Game Pass. But then we did forget about global publishing out there making deals. You know, we've heard from Windows Central and these places talking about, you know, at least 3 deals that are known, that are big deals that we aren't aware of yet. One of them might be talked about this year. So you looked at that as well. Microsoft has a plan in place. Phil and his team at Xbox have a plan in place. This is not, they are in a growth phase. They are not going to stop growing. I can't see because I don't know what their internals numbers are, but I can't imagine they're not going to stop growing for any foreseeable future. So they know they have to have content lined up, and they are planning on having an avalanche of content for the next years into the foreseeable future, whether it's first party, whether it's third party, they don't care. They're going to have continuous content coming into Game Pass and coming onto their ecosystem because that platform needs it in order to continue to have people, not only new people enter, but the older people stay subscribed. And the only way you do that is the Netflix model. And again, there's a lot more that's involved, and it's the easiest model to use because it's obviously based upon that. But with DLC and microtransactions, there's so much more that comes into play when you're talking about Game Pass. But again, content has to be continuously dropping, and you have to have a diversity of content. You cannot have the same type of stuff dropping in. You will lose people who are not interested in that type of game. There are plenty of people who never want to play a sports game. If all you had was sports games dropping in Game Pass, you would lose a large population of the people who have zero interest. So you have to have every type of genre, every type of game dropping in there, and it's got to be on a consistent basis. So I think right now, behind the scenes, I think the deals that are being made, not only for maybe this year, but on into the future, we're talking 3-4 years down the road, because some of these games they're talking about are just going, just starting to go into development. So we're talking about they are far out into the future. And I think that I think all the games that were talked about here, Back for Blood, Battlefield 6 obviously has been rumored for a long time. A lot of those games have the real potential for a deal to put them into Game Pass, if not day and date, very quickly afterwards. I think the one interesting case, and I tweeted this out the other day, the one interesting test case that we could see very shortly is Hood, Outlaws and Legends. Okay, that game is a PvPvE, right? Game. It requires 8 people right? Two teams of 4 at all times. That game is going to get lost in the shuffle. We have second Extinction dropping. We have Outriders, obviously very popular right now. And then May is absolutely slammed with Mass Effect Legendary. And we have Resident Evil. We have Biomutant coming out. Hood, Outlaws and Legends is going to get lost in that shuffle, and they are going to need a player base. If they, again, I don't think it's going to drop day and date, but the interesting test case that could happen is if that game drops and within 30 days they don't have a consistent base, how quickly does that show up in the Game Pass to try to rejuvenate it?
Now, question is that because I've always seen that game sort of hand in hand with Sony marketing. I could have sworn they had something to do with it because I have not seen it.
It's on all consoles.
Really? Okay. Again, they've done a good job of making it seem like it's exclusive to them.
I know. No, it's on all it's on Windows, it's on computer, it's cross-gen, so it's on everything. So, but again, just from the standpoint that game, again, I totally forgot about the game. I didn't even realize it was launching. It releases May 10th. So that's crazy. It's coming out. And they're going to need people. And what better way if enough people don't buy it and enough people aren't playing that game, like Avengers did, what happened to Avengers? How quick is this company? Because they aren't Square Enix. It's Focus Home Interactive that's publishing it. So it's a smaller publishing house. How quickly do they start knocking and saying, hey, we need 20 million eyes on this thing now to try to rejuvenate it? I think that might happen. And it would be interesting to see because I think eventually you're going to start seeing games come into Game Pass sooner than later. I don't think we're going to see these year-long windows. We've already seen Madden shorten its time span before it dropped into EA Play, obviously because EA Play is now in Game Pass, and they knew they could get those Ultimate Team bucks quicker if they dropped it in there after the initial sales dried up. And I think we're going to start seeing that with the bigger titles as well. Once they get those initial sales and they know that it's kind of slowing down for them, but they have microtransactions or DLC, they're going to start pushing those games into Game Pass as well. I just get ready for the avalanche. Microsoft's on the tear right now. They're on a warpath. They're in a growing stage. And when you're in a growing stage, nothing's off the table, and there's not enough money to throw around in the world because they need it. They have to do this. And especially since their first-party titles have not been ready, they are filling a lot of holes right now. And with the pandemic, it created a lot more holes that they probably weren't expecting. And so they are preparing for the worst right now, which means they're lining up deals. And if their first-party titles are ready to go, but they still have these other deals all lined up, for this year, next year, and beyond, so be it. The more the merrier. They're just going to look at it as another investment into Game Pass to get more people in.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and throw this over to you. Last but not least, Centurion, get your quick opinion, man, and we'll go ahead and move on to the last topic, man. So shout out to everybody watching this live. Go ahead, Centurion.
Oh man, I don't know where to start on this, man. Like, this is like, I like how Pong said it. We're just like over here. How does every show turn into a giant thing about like Game Pass? What can be said? Let's get back to the topic. Dude, freaking, I can't even fathom right now the direction we're going in gaming. Dude, we're in the golden age of gaming. Like, because of the pandemic right now, the massive growth that the industry itself has seen, everybody is all of a sudden just going like earlier reference, somebody said that somebody will throw a million things at the wall and see if one sticks. I really think that's what a lot of companies right now are throwing, a lot of things at the wall, and Game Pass is one of these objects to them that definitely leaps out as them as like, hey, let's throw this over there and let's see if it sticks. And we're already seeing basically a lot of stuff come to fruition just because of Game Pass. But outside of Game Pass, why does it always have to be Game Pass? I just like to see what Microsoft is really cooking up all together. We've had, I've been listening to everybody talk. Forgive me. I hope I don't regurgitate, but I mean, we talked earlier about, potential games coming out of Japan and that part of the world. Certain names have been going around, like Kojima and them. I mean, dude, sky's the limit right now because the game industry is in such a state of flux that, in my opinion, anything is possible.
Yeah, No, that's just for the bow tie on. To be honest with you, at this point, so there's a lot going on with Xbox, a lot going on with first party, a lot going on with third party. More to come, and I suspect, and this is Sav, we're not even at the summer events.
Yeah, that's the
we're
crazy
not even thing. Yeah. we're not even at the summer events, bro. This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, last year everybody had to sort of break. Everybody sort of scrambling to get information out. And no,
I was just gonna say earlier I saw somebody. It was like the other day. Somebody it was earlier today. Somebody was talking about how it's detrimental already that apparently the new Fable game isn't coming out for a while, and this game isn't coming out for a while. Mm-hmm. And I had to chuckle, and I'm like, what the hell, man? There is actually way too much for us to keep up with. What more do you want? Can you calm down?
Yeah, it's that's why that's a narrative that I try to sort of ignore. The whole Xbox has no games or whatever.
Oh, dude, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist unless you have blinders on.
Yeah, exactly. Unless that's unless that's the energy you want to put out there. But there's so much to play. Whether it's your small indie games, I think what Game Pass does well too is sort of creates that platform where you can, that AA game could come back and thrive, right? And I think we're going to see more of that. I think PlayStation. We'll probably talk about it in the next topic, but yeah, PlayStation is doing a lot to fill those gaps as well. So yeah, man, listen, I have again. I don't have a backlog. I just collect games.
Exactly.
We all sit up here saying the same. We got the same story. So
it's time to retire that word for good because we're never going to have enough time for what's coming.
It doesn't exist. I say exactly. For me to even begin to parse what I have there, I would have to literally fall down a flight of steps and be on my back for the next year, and then maybe.
Dude, it worked. It's worse for me because I got this fun stuff called ADD, and I literally have to stare at my games going, what do I feel like playing tonight? I mean, it's not I gotta keep going, unless the game is that good where I gotta know the story and just keep playing it. I mean, literally I'll squirrel it right to a different game just because I didn't feel like playing the other one that night.
Yeah, it gets crazy. We're all in the same boat regarding that backlog. It is a horrible conundrum to be in. So, and we all fall for that same damn trap every time. More games, it was squirreless as hell. But anyway, let's go ahead and keep this thing moving to the last topic, man. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us, man. We're running long today, man. This is good, though, man. This is nice. We're stretching our legs a little bit.
That's the sovereign effect. Anytime the Iron Lord's in the building, 4 hours.
The Iron Lord curse is back, baby.
The Iron Lord.
Destructive Shock podcast. Good Lord. I thought I got holy water over here. It didn't work.
It didn't work. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You should have got that sage. You should have burned some of that sage.
I knew it. Some Palo Santo, something. Everything. Anyway, but I appreciate you, Sav, man. We loving it over here. It's all love, brother. So, last topic, man, we're going to wrap this thing up with some Sony news. And as Sav so eloquently put it earlier, this is a great segue. Just about Sony's roadmap. 2021, 2020 even. It hasn't necessarily been the intensity that we thought we were going to get from Sony. It's been a bit of a reserved Sony, I would say. Not a bad Sony. I know people are saying bad Sony, but I think it's a bit too early to say bad Sony. I just think the reason I come from that position is because Sony, in my opinion, I mean, when you have they're such a strong brand, that's so hard to get over. That's so hard to. They have people love Sony and PlayStation. They have such a strong worldwide brand that, I just don't think anything outside of them shooting themselves in the foot is really going to interrupt that. I mean, it'll disrupt it. Things may move for a little while. I'm not saying that, it'll never shift or anything like that. I'm just saying that's why they don't need to take the necessary steps that maybe Xbox did. But I love the fact that Xbox is doing what it's doing because it's definitely putting pressure on Sony. Game Pass is something that Sony do not have the ability to counter. I mean, they don't have I don't know if they have the finances to counter. It's just, but this is what competition breeds. So that's why I'm happy about it. But either way, we're talking a bit about Sony and their roadmap going forward. We'll start with you, Sav. Once again, some numbers came out recently. Fastest selling console ever. Phenomenal. We know the demand's there for the console. That's always been there, irregardless of how people feel about what Sony's done. the demand has always been there. So for the console itself. So where you at just with their roadmap, what they're doing, kind of how they're moving. People questioning Jim Ryan, but like I said, I just feel like you got to give him a bit more time. It's a bit early in his tenure to say he's doing it wrong.
Yeah. For sure. I think, the doom and gloom that we've sort of heard the past couple of days with the, the Bloomberg report coming out and the Jason Schreier article. I think, the only thing that I took out of that was purely negative is just the idea that the sort of the culture at Sony will be changing, right? If that stuff is true and the focus is going to be changing, then it goes away from what made PlayStation special to begin with. And if that is true in the long term, that's just sad to see. How that affects their bottom line or their popularity, that remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, I think that is the scariest part of what we heard coming out of that. The fact that, this focus, because again, their thing is the big, AAA, beautiful cinematic game. That is their bag. That's what they do well. And doubling and tripling down on that isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No,
right? When you talk
it works.
About, it works. It definitely works 100%. I mean, I don't know what it does for their sort of production pipeline and how frequently we'll get these type of caliber games, but at the end of the day, the quality is going to be there, right? So the thing for me that bothered me about that whole report is the fact that the sort of heart and soul of what I believe Sony to be, right? What I remember from the PS1 generation that made me fall in love with Sony may be going away. So beyond that, though, but when you look at their roadmap for the next year to maybe 2 years, I don't think we have a lot to worry about, right?
No,
I really do think that when you look at what's coming down the pipeline, I mean, it's still, we're going to have Ratchet and Clank soon. We're going to have
amazing. Ratchet.
Amazing.
By the way, before you just Ratchet and Clank to me was that was a jewel of that showcase.
Mm-hmm.
In my last year, last year the showcase, I can't remember what was it, June. We got somewhere we got this. That was a jewel, the gem of that showcase, in my opinion. Ratchet and Clank is going to be amazing. So,
I thought it was beautiful. I thought for me, the jewel for me, because it came out of left field, was Kenna.
Kenna's amazing.
Because it came out of left field. I was like, what the hell? Like I knew Ratchet and Clank was going to be special, right? I knew 2016 Ratchet and Clank was amazing. Already felt like it was a cartoon. I could only imagine what they were going to accomplish on PlayStation 5. So I kind of, you expect that. But this Kenna, I was like, wait a minute, what the heck? When you have, Pixar style, caliber artists making a game, obviously you worry about them getting gameplay right. But in terms of artistic vision, I said, oh, this is bonkers. So we have Kenna, right, to expect. We have Returnal to expect when you think about Housemarque and the games they've made in the past, right? And them now finally getting sort of the chance to sort of elevate themselves to the AAA level while still, based on what I've seen, making, a Housemarque type game is very exciting to me. I think as people have seen more trailers of Returnal, they've gotten more excited for what it could possibly be. And then obviously I think Horizon makes it out this year.
This year, you think?
I think it'll be their fall game. I think they haven't said anything to the contrary yet, but I think Horizon makes it. Ragnarok, I never believed that ain't happening. Even if it were ready, I don't think they, with Horizon and Ragnarok, maybe I don't think they
never do that.
No,
I don't think they ever do. Well, I know Ghost of Tsushima and TLO2 came out close, didn't they?
They did, but that was because of delays. I don't think that was their original plan.
That is true. TLO2 got delayed quite a bit.
Exactly. So I don't think that was part of their original plan. So if they have to do it, I can assume yes, they would do it. But with as few PlayStation 5s in the wild as they are, why wouldn't you just hold it back a little bit, right? And then you still have Deathloop coming, which, technically the Xbox game that's coming the first day one to PlayStation. And same way with Ghostwire. So, there's plenty of stuff still coming out this year, not to mention the smaller games that people were interested coming out of that first showcase, the Goodbye Volcano Highs, the Stray, the game with the cat. There's stuff their stuff. The Final Fantasy VII again, the remake, the Intergrade thing, is coming. So
no, Final Fantasy what 16?
No,
or 17.
Well, 16 is coming exclusive.
16 is coming exclusive.
And,
so that
and
counts,
I don't.
guess, right?
Yeah, that's not this year, but I can see that being closer than we think, and it being a game for next year.
Yeah.
So they continue to make their second party deals. These third party deals as well. They know how to fill in the gaps. I think that if there's one thing that Jim Ryan really knows and understands well is that those tentpole style games, even if they can't make them in-house, getting them on the PlayStation platform exclusively for however long is what attracts that PlayStation base. And it is what moves them and makes them very happy. So I think in that regard, the game plan isn't changing at all. I just don't think so. How that affects them 2 years out, I don't know. But I think in the immediate future, I think we're good.
So no, and absolutely. And the one question mark, the only thing that could, I don't say disrupt, but as Game Pass gets bigger, that may cause a bit of a disruption in the way they do things, and may even shift their view of. I mean, it may never shift. Maybe they're always leaning on first party, but things so I always have this view that Sony doesn't necessarily have to do anything different, but once everything around them starts being different, as far as just the entire industry starts changing, at that point you don't have a choice.
You don't have a lot of a choice. I've always argued that in order to sort of to beat the person that's number one, right? You have to beat them at their own game. You have to show that you can do what they do, but better. I think that's always been the case with Sony. Like, listen, if you can do third person over the shoulder action adventure games with amazing production values just as well as them, you could probably beat them. That was true up until Game Pass. I think Game Pass changed the entire narrative. In the beginning, we laughed it off like, yeah, whatever. They're giving away their games for free because they're 7 Metacritics anyway. It doesn't matter. They were looking a year ahead, 2 years ahead, and to see the impact of this and where they changed the conversation so much. This is another thing that I've always said is like, when you're losing in the same way over and over again, what do? You change the conversation. You can't beat them at their own game. So you join them or you go a completely different direction to make yourself stand out. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Microsoft went to Game Pass in the services round, and it's worked to the point where the conversation has changed so much that the guy that's been in third place technically is changing the entire conversation around gaming, which is so weird because you would think that the paradigm shifts would come from the moves that are made by the person by the company in first place. And it's just not the case. So eventually, yes, Sony does have to sort of evolve to compete directly with Xbox. Can they do it? Do they have the money to do it? They have a counterpunch, right? Like David Jaffe said, they have a counterpunch. Is it as robust as Game Pass? I don't think it is. What it is, I have no idea. But I do think it's very interesting when the person in the driver's seat is forced to change direction by the dude driving, the Sunday driver behind them, the backseat driver.
And that's always been my point of view, because I feel like Sony's brand is so strong, and it's not just PS4 Sony. We're talking there's legacy Sony, PS1 Sony. That's why that's where they built their fan base at. That's the strongest part of the fan base.
Exactly.
And that's tough to get at. History, you can't really beat history. So Xbox is the new kid on the block technically when it comes to gaming. So it's tough. It's tough to try and beat legacy, But so once you say, if you just introduce something that changes the entire conversation, then that's another way to get in. So and like you said, Game Pass could be that key. So we'll throw this over to you, Centurion. Get your quick opinion on just Sony's roadmap, man. Where they're going with some of the things they're doing.
Well, I guess real quick, shameless plug. I guess my current video kind of revolves around the concept of has greatness passed, you know, the whole idea of greatness awaits. Maybe greatness has passed, you know, maybe Jim Ryan and Don Matrick are high-fiving, you know, outside of camera shot.
Some people say they one in the same.
Well, this is now that we well, let's talk about honestly, like Sean Layden's been a little active on social media lately, kind of liking and kind of retweeting some of the blows that have been kind of sent Jim Ryan's way, and a lot of the love that the internet has shown for Sean Layden as of recently. And we all know that Jim Ryan was pretty much put in control of SIE in February of 2019 or around that time, and pretty much Sean Layden was out at the very tail end of September. You know, we got that nice little tweet from PlayStation just generally, hey, you know, Sean Layden, thanks for everything. By the way, here's your box. Don't let the door hit you. So you kind of already saw what was coming, that there is a fundamental difference in mentality between Sean Layden and Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan is a numbers guy, regretfully. And I was actually I actually had this conversation with my a very close friend of mine over in the UK. And you guys probably know him. So he kind of asked me my opinion on Jim Ryan and how that we kind of had a difference. And I kind of put it like this. In the industry I'm in right now, professionally, what I do for a living to actually keep a roof over my head, I'm kind of like Jim Ryan. I don't own a company. I have been put in control of the department, and I am in control of that department's success. He is in control of PlayStation's success. One thing Jim Ryan has to do is basically manage the relationship between the fans of PlayStation and the people that actually control the purse strings, or Sony themselves. Jim Ryan is regretfully out of touch with his fans, and he is allowing himself to make executive decisions to appease people that look at numbers. And that's where, I mean, in my job, there has been times where I've had to go head to head against the person who pretty much signs my paycheck, saying, no, you're making a horrible mistake. The fan base is not going to want this. You don't like, sorry, you look at numbers. I am the relationship between the fan base and you, and I'm telling you this is a bad idea. And we haven't seen that out of Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan is embracing this new direction for PlayStation, and that's where it's going to show through now. I'm not saying this is Jim Ryan's fault. This is just the way Jim Ryan is. But I kind of liked what Dex said in the chat. What about right now that there's an extreme shortage on consoles? Microsoft has put themselves in a very good position to show why it's relevant to keep your older generation of consoles going because of that what if. You know, Microsoft does a really good job of pivoting, where right now, because of our Sacred Garden beliefs over on PlayStation, there is going to be potential revenue loss on Ratchet and Clank due to the fact that the consoles probably are not as wide distributed as they probably want. So what is Sony's roadmap right now? I have no idea. I'm very curious. We see a lot of games going to Game Pass. We see them lining up a lot of their entertainment. I really think, in my opinion, Sony is going to go down the entertainment route to try to somehow make themselves different than Game Pass. And I really think this is a good avenue for them because of the fact that they actually do own a production studio. So they actually have a way of creating a unique product outside of Game Pass that would be something specific to their ecosystem, purely because they have something that Xbox does not have or Microsoft doesn't even have, and that is the fact that they actually own a flesh and blood movie production company.
That's true. No, and Fuzz has made that point as well. I don't know if Fuzz will tap in with that, but I know he's made that point about that being something completely different that Sony's able to. That's another way. I mean, you bring something else to the table that Xbox and or Microsoft does not have. I mean, but that's what drives the industry, you know. So things like Game Pass drive the industry. You know, whatever Sony does is going to push Xbox to counter and make additional moves. So I want to make sure I got to everybody on this one. Who did I know Pong, I did not get to you yet, correct?
Correct.
Sure. All right, I'm going all out of order here, so I know usually I'm all in line, but doesn't make a difference. We'll get to everybody. So, Pong, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Well, the doom and gloom can go away. I mean, Sony's not going anywhere. There's
they're fine.
They're fine.
They're fine. They're fine.
Yeah,
they're more than fine.
they're more than fine.
I don't think they're going anywhere. Please,
No,
I just think Jim Ryan
no.
is going to definitely change the direction of Sony.
Correct.
Yeah,
What we're
the
seeing is a
culture.
transformation. Okay, what we're seeing is a point in time where we just see a major player in an industry find themselves in a position where they have to change course, and that doesn't always happen quickly. It's not always pretty, and of course, their customers, their fans, don't always see the vision or appreciate what it takes.
They don't have any way. They don't
Right.
have any way to. Yeah.
Right. And of course, change is, for a lot of people, a lot of human beings, change is scary, right? Change is bad, right? To a lot of people, we are creatures of habit. We all like things being the same or comfortable. And so what we're seeing here is just a shift of, a type of business model that they are still currently using, which is becoming increasingly outdated as we go forward. Now, does that mean that they have to absolutely try to compete directly with Microsoft and Game Pass? Game Pass being Microsoft's, Xbox's new platform. Do they have to compete directly? No. They don't. Do they have the ability to? Not to the same degree that Xbox does, because of Microsoft being, the money, right? They just simply do not. Microsoft has the Microsoft has the infrastructure already built in. They've got everything on the back end that they need to do this. So that's a cost, extremely expensive costs that are basically nullified right out the gate. And Sony would have to pay for all that. Okay. So there's a lot at play here. I think for the first time, and as far as I can remember, I went back in my 40 plus years of gaming and trying to think of a time like this, but we may have the three major players in this industry all taking their own path and all creating their own playing field, right? Yes, there'll be some indirect competition. Yes, there'll be some direct competition still involved, but at the end of the day, they all may take a different route. Nintendo's already done it. Nintendo's off in their own world.
Yeah,
okay? They left the colony a long time ago, moved away, planted a new flag, and said, "This is how we're doing our thing," right? And they took a lot of people with them, and they've cultivated that fan base through all these decades, and it's there. It's solid. It's exactly, they've got it. It's set. They're fine. Now you got Sony and Microsoft left, Sony and Xbox left, PlayStation, Xbox, however you want to say it. Now these two are left, and they've been going head to head. Microsoft finally decided that they can't go toe to toe with Sony, right? They realized last gen that they couldn't go toe to toe with Sony on a console war basis, on a hardware basis. So what do? They turn back to what they do best, right? That's software and services. They found a way. Phil and his team had this idea for Game Pass and has turned it into something obviously that we are all happy with, that devs and publishers seem to be happy with, that Microsoft as a corporation is happy enough that they gave Phil a seat at the big table. It is now one of their main pillars in the corporation of Microsoft. So that's all set. So we got Nintendo and Microsoft. Now, what does Sony do? Sony's underneath the old model. Sony's doing their thing. Their roadmap for 2021 looks like a typical generation roadmap. Minus, I think they would obviously like to have some more big AAA first party there, or a couple more third party big deals set. Obviously, the pandemic messed them up as much as everybody else. And as Centurion just talked about, with the semiconductor shortages out there affecting both players in this game, but especially Sony, they don't have that base for their next gen only, their PlayStation 5 only style games like Ratchet and Clank. The base is not what they would like it to be at right now. If they had enough consoles to put out there, they'd probably be at 10, 12 million right now, right? Easy.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah.
That would be a good number to put out a first party AAA banger and get the sales numbers that you want. They currently don't have that. They keep they've pushed these titles back, Returnal a few weeks or whatever it was, and now Ratchet and Clank they pushed back a couple months to try to get the player base up a little bit more, because they know they're going to see a dip and in the sales numbers, and they won't see those titles actually sell until there's more consoles out there. That's just basic math. So I think at this point their roadmap is good. I think they have enough to keep their fan base happy with at least the content that's being put out. A lot of people are excited. I love to see Returnal. I'm a big Housemarque fan. I don't have a PS5 yet. It's not something I would go buy a PS5 for. However, it's great to see Housemarque come up and finally get the chance to make a big game. Yep. It is going to be interesting to see how the $70 price point affects this game.
That's the thing. I mean,
there's going to be a lot of questions of whether or not Housemarque's first big game is worth the $70. I mean, I guess we'll wait and see. I think if it critically hits and it gets some, gigantic glowing reviews, I think then yes, people will go and dive in. But there's going to be some people that hold back until they convince themselves.
I think if it's good enough critically, I think it'll even survive being a short game, because I don't think it's going to be a long game.
No, neither do I.
Not at all. But I think 10, 12 hours is good. But I think if it does well critically, it'll be fine. It'll survive being short.
And the roguelike stuff is I think what worries people, where it's like the replayability. When you think of roguelike, you think indie. So it's like but again,
and not everybody likes that style either. That is more of a niche kind of style. So it's going to be questionable, but I think it'll be interesting just to see how that turns out, because it's going to be a true test of this new $70 price point. So I think that's interesting, but I think their roadmap for now is fine. Now, as far as what they do in the future, I think like Centurion just alluded to, I've come to the conclusion that if they do pivot and they try to create a service, which all the signs point that they're working on something right now, I think it will be a hybrid of Game Pass, and I think it will include the other content that they do have available to them to try to make it kind of a complete package, which, again, neither Microsoft nor Nintendo can offer in any way, shape, or form, because they don't have the movie studios, they don't have the production studios, and they don't have the animation studios, right? They're big into anime now as well. Don't forget that. Yeah. So I think correct. I think a bundle type service like that will appeal to a lot of people. I think it'll be a good move for them. They just made the big deal with Netflix. Obviously, that's going to solidify some things on the movie side of, they've been hit hard, just like all movie studios have with the pandemic. And going forward, we don't know if the movie studios are going to come back ever like they were. So I think they've kind of, obviously protected themselves by doing that deal with Netflix to give them some, assurances that they're going to have, a steady cash flow coming in from the production studio. So I think they're fine for now. I think they will pivot. I think we will see some kind of hybrid version of a Game Pass or a service type offering. I think it makes sense for them to do that. Down in the future, there's a lot of question marks. I talked about it today on Living Split Screen. That's a whole show in itself about where this could lead to. Obviously, King gets, King jokes it up and stuff, but there is a lot of truth. Like Sav said, Sav's finally come around to the fact that, never doubt what King said. There's a lot there that you could see if you do look at it that could happen down the road, where Sony is a completely different kind of company than what we see now. But I think they're fine. They've got a solid fan base as long as they can continue to put out their AAAs and the pace that they have. And we've heard that they are growing some of their teams too. So maybe some of these teams start making 2 games instead of just 1. That will go a long way, because I think even if they put out 2 AAAs, 3 AAAs, maybe on a good year, 3 AAAs, I think that their fans will be happy with that and satisfied with that. It's going to look small compared to what Game Pass is offering. And I think that's why you'll see more dual ownership of consoles this gen versus any other gen before it, because I think a lot of people are going to pick up that Series S as the companion console to the PS5 to get the Game Pass experience, because there's going to be so much content dropping in there. But Sony itself will be okay, and I think their roadmap is okay. Just people don't like what Jim Ryan's doing right now. He's definitely tightening the belts, so to speak. He's definitely tightening the ship and making sure that they're secure money-wise, so that they're okay. They can't be wasting a lot of money right now. They can't be trying a lot of new things, which is sad, like Sav said, because that's Sony's, that's what made Sony great. I was a PS4 owner out the gates last gen for that reason, because I didn't like what Microsoft is offering. I go to who sells me on their system, and Sony did that. And a lot of it was the smaller titles and the opportunity there. So that will be a sad kind of thing, but I think for what they're going through right now and what this is, where this gen is projecting, it's a smart move, and I think that's why they chose Jim Ryan to lead this, was to do those exact and make those hard decisions that he's doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I 100% agree. And like I said, I think it's a bit too early in his tenure to really throw the baby out with the bathwater. So we'll hold off. We'll hold off on that. But let's go ahead and wrap this up with Fuzzy. Go ahead and get your take, Fuzz, on this before we close the show, man. This is a record today, so you broke a record, my guy.
Yeah, man. My apologies.
It's all good.
No. This is amazing, bro.
Great conversations.
This. No, absolutely. I'm sure the chat appreciate everybody's here hanging out, man.
Fantastic conversation. You guys have such great energy, amazing energy. I love to see this. I love it.
Awesome, man. Go ahead, Fuzz. Do your damn thing, brother.
Well, I think the only problem I have with the roadmap is being a fan of Days Gone. I wanted a Days Gone 2, especially with the new hardware. I think the new hardware being a little bit more capable. I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, all the freakers and the swarms and stuff like that. I think the new hardware would have definitely opened up some eyes, and even with having the 60 frame setup on the current Days Gone on the console on PS5 is great. And I just would have wanted to see them, turn it up a notch on a Days Gone 2. That was like the Sony tradition. Maybe the first game doesn't, hit a home run right out of the gate. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima, that's like, I wouldn't say that's a rarity, but that's one to definitely hit a home run out the park. And same thing with The Last of Us. But, they grew Uncharted. So I would have liked to see Days Gone 2. My only other problem with the roadmap, where the heck is Gran Turismo going to land? When are we getting Gran Turismo 7?
Here comes Car Guy.
I think it's coming. I think we're going to get a head-to-head battle next year. I think we get that.
That would be nice. Although I'm finding out it's weird. Going back with GT Sport and Forza Motorsport 7, I'm actually trying to do the same setup, same cars, same tracks. I'm actually like 3 or 4 seconds faster on Gran Turismo Sport than I am on Forza Motorsport 7. But on the flip side of things, Forza Motorsport 7, I can almost feel the control or the comfort level of the controller, the predictability coming out of the corners is so much more inviting, I guess you could say. Okay. With Gran Turismo Sport, it just feels like I'm on the track instead of in the track type of thing. So
that's probably the power of the SSD. An extra 3 to 4 seconds.
I definitely want to see a Gran Turismo 7 sooner rather than later. If they want to go head to head with Motorsport, it's going to be interesting. But I'll have both of them, and I'll be playing both of them pretty much, equally back to back type of deal. Yeah. But outside of that, their roadmap for 2021 still looking pretty good. I don't. See, I want to buy Returnal, but I don't want to buy it at 70. So I'm going to wait the 30 days to see if there's a little bit of a discount on it. It's not a, mark against, house mark or anything like that, but it's just, I've already spent 70 on a handful of games, and I kind of kicked myself for doing it, but I did it with 2K because, hey, it's a next gen looking game, and I didn't buy it originally on the, my series, or not my series, on my Xbox One X, but I'm not spending 70 on anything other than Gran Turismo 7, right, as far as preload or pre-order type of deal, at least at this point. But aside from that, definitely looking forward to Kina. Definitely looking forward to with Horizon, but I still want to hear if they're going to have a flying mechanic in it because cross.
I thought they said they were. Well, didn't they mention something about a flying mechanic?
They have flying. They still have flying animals, and they have like the underwater stuff. But I want to make sure, considering it's going to be cross-gen between PS4 and PS5, and that was one of the hiccups with the PS4 not being able to do the flying mechanic because of the hardware. I hope. I mean, it's not that I want to see them make two different games, but I would love to have that flying mechanic just because the size of the world. I mean, yeah, there's fast travel and whatnot, but I just that's the only thing that was missing as far as like a dino world or a robotic dino world. And, that would be one thing I'd like to see. But outside of that, I think they'll be fine. Not necessarily a fan of Jim Ryan, but who's a fan of a bean counter more so. Not to just downplay his CEO abilities or
some
running a
accountant
gaming
right
company.
now is like, hey, wait a minute.
but it's just one of those things where you can see the difference between him and Phil. One being an enthusiast or an actual gamer, and the other one, his after work hobbies or certain drinks and music, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not necessarily on or in touch with your customer base. But then again, at CEO level, you don't have to be. You have people under you for that. But nonetheless, my only gripe with him right now is no Days Gone 2. Glad to see that Ben Studios is going to get another IP that they can work on. Although, why wouldn't they just do Days Gone 2? But anyway, I just can't wait until there's a Ghost of Tsushima 2, although we have the online thing that they've added to the current game, which is phenomenal. Looking forward to, was it Factions with Last of Us 2? Although, do we really need a Last of Us remake? But I'm not going to get into that.
Listen, I'm a fraud. I'm buying it, but yeah, we don't need it.
Hey,
they'll be fine.
Becoming cars now. Here's this year's version.
This is version, yeah. I mean, again, if this is the road they're going down, yeah, we're gonna get a lot of that. So I don't know. We'll see. I know the quality is going to be there, but I just don't see, when you're talking about remaking, by the time that game comes out, that game will be 10 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And if it
that's
hadn't
GTA that's
exactly,
very GTA.
Exactly. And if it hadn't gotten a remaster for the PS4, I'd be more okay with it. But the thing is, when you look at when you hear the rumors about the resources that are getting put towards this, even before it got moved to back to Naughty Dog, I don't expect the Final Fantasy VII remake level of remake there.
Right.
So then at that point, it's like, how egregious does that feel if it's just a very, very pretty version of the original Last of Us without a lot of differences in how the game plays, and
it's $70,
and it's going to be $70. Yeah.
So, I think that would have been better suited for like Uncharted, especially with that being also a series for HBO and I guess for Netflix as well now. I think Uncharted, as old as that whole series is, I think that would have been the better approach. But the extra investment on recalibrating the mechanics of it, I guess, were outside the budget terms. So,
and that's the worrisome thing about it, because that's what you would need, right? For me to really like look at a Last of Us remake and really be super excited about it, I would need that type of budget to maybe to expand the gameplay so that it's more like The Last of Us 2 and things like that. And if you're telling me that reworking Uncharted 1 to make it more in line with what Uncharted 4 is, and if you're telling me that that's too much money to invest, then I don't, then what is this Last of Us remake looking like? So we'll see.
We'll see, man. But we are going to go ahead and wrap things up, man. It's been a phenomenal show. You guys have been hanging out with us over 2 hours, man. We are in the long. This has been a marathon today, guys, but this has been such a phenomenal show. Time's flown by. I haven't really even paid attention to the time at all. So that's how it's a great show. And we've had a great guest, man. Sav, listen, we don't do this enough, but I want to make sure I give you your flowers while you're here, brother. I know it's been 2 years since we did this, but I appreciate you so much because you're an OG, and me and you from the beginning, you've always reached out to me in the DMs, whether it be just as a friend, just checking on me, all kind of random things, and just, asking about the show, whatever the case may be. But I appreciate you as just a person before even anything else, brother. So thank you for joining us here on the show again. It's been far too long. We make sure it won't happen again, people. I see you guys really enjoyed this. As you can see, the people really enjoyed it. Show's been active. So Appreciate you for hanging out with us, man. But let everybody know where you can find where they can find you, what you guys got going over there at ILP. Shout out to Cog, Addict, David, everybody. All love, peace and love to Dizzy's family. Everybody doing the damn thing over there at ILP, man. But let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
But thank you, man. First and foremost, thank you so much for inviting me back. Yes, it has been too long. And like I said, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better because I'm so bad.
We are going to be better. I'm not throwing you under the bus. Please.
We're just bad about that. But yeah, I have to say, man, I am so happy and proud of what you guys have built here. Sometimes you listen to podcasts and it just feels like a regurgitation of stuff, and sometimes people don't have energy and stuff like that. You guys, the energy that you guys have, the way you bounce off of one another, it matters. It matters, and you guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I love the energy here, and that's so integral to just engaging everybody that comes in, whether it be the chat or the guests. So it's just a pleasure to be here and to see the growth you guys have had as well. Like I said before, like when you say community, you mean community, and we've all come up together, man. We all came sort of at the same time.
Hell yeah.
And to see the growth all the way around, and not just our podcast, not just you, but everyone else that's coming around the same time. And it's because of us supporting one another, right? Because we don't, when we say community, we mean community. And again, sometimes we'll fall off, and it'll be a couple of years, but the fact of the matter is that the support is there, and the fact that we respect one another, we listen to one another, and we build each other up.
Absolutely.
Instead of breaking each other down, is so important, man. So thank you so much for having me. You will see me on here sooner rather than later. Again. For sure.
Oh yeah, Chad.
But thank you, all of you guys. Like Pong, first time I've ever got to podcast with you. Fuzzy, it's been so long. Centurion has been so long. So absolutely amazing time. So thank you so much. And of course, you guys can catch me every Sunday afternoon, the Lord's Day, Iron Lords podcast on YouTube. Tomorrow, we have some very special guests coming to the realm. We have 2 devs from Obsidian coming through.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Listen, man. All praise be to Cog. All praise be to Addict. Those guys hustle. Beautiful things coming to the realm.
That's
so
awesome.
We have 2 devs from Obsidian coming through. We're going to be talking about the Outer Worlds. We're going to be talking about specifically Murder on Eridanos, the last and final DLC that's come out for that game. Mm-hmm. And maybe me. I don't care about NBA.
Listen, I was waiting on you. Better not let me down right now. You better not let me down.
I've been warned to behave myself, so
you better not let me.
It better
down.
Be all avowed, non-stop questions.
You better not let me down, so I need this.
So I don't get scolded too bad, but
I need this. Do it for the culture, Saab. Look, Cog. I know you're listening, Cog. Listen, I told him to do it. Just DM me. I told him to do it. Just that's right. DM. I'm sorry ahead of time.
But it's Blam's fault. Just blame it on Blam.
Yeah, please.
No doubt, Russell. Thank you again, guys. Appreciate it. It's been fantastic.
All right, man. Thank you, man. It's all love every time, man. That's when you know it's a real relationship. Because as soon as I hit him back up, it's almost like we've been talking this entire time.
The first thing we said was like, "Damn, man, I can't believe it's been
way too long, bro." But it's all love, man. You guys, Cog, everybody there at ILP, man. You guys have been fans of the show from the beginning, from day one. So appreciate you guys, man. Once again, all his information, everything they got going over there at ILP is in the description below. Please check them out there. Thank you, man. Will not be the last time we see him on. Shout out David. You next, David. You man. Addict, you next as well, brother. So I will be reaching out to these gentlemen. So appreciate you. Let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Pong. Was it 9 this week? You are what, 9?
7.
7? Oh, 7. I'm giving you 2 extra.
Good man.
7. Jesus Christ, man. But yeah, shout out to you. Shout out to Still Rain. I know he popped in here earlier. You guys got the living split screen going up. Run it up, man. I told you what was going to happen.
You did. You did. Hey, first of all, PTK, we're gonna have to pool some money together tonight. We're just gonna send super chats, $2 super chats to the Iron Lords podcast tomorrow with questions about Avowed.
Oh yeah,
so that Sav has to read them off, and it'll be fine.
$500 and $2.
Yeah, man. So the unfortunate thing about that, now that we when we have big, I think they're there for an hour.
Yeah.
So
you don't have time.
You have to hold those super chats to the end, so they don't even get to hear them. So
but look, you're in charge, Sav. You can just start reading them. You can just be like, no, these are too important. We got to get to these.
If I was the one in charge of OBS, I'd do it. But I know the moment I start to do it, Cog would just be like, oh, what happened to Sav? He just press the button.
Fine.
Press the button and I'll be gone.
Fine. All right.
But, I'll try to sneak something in.
Yeah, I know you will. You will, man. I appreciate that.
The man who doesn't care about NDAs,
Great, exactly. It's not your butt on the line, Sav. Who cares?
Not at all.
Oh man, great show as always, man. I love ending my week here at the Shop Podcast. This is always fantastic. Chat, you guys were amazing. Everybody that came out tonight, all the new faces that came out for Sav. Appreciate you all. Support is incredible here. Great community. Just love it ever since I joined this podcast. Absolutely amazing. A testament to PTK. Sav, it was an absolute honor, sir. Again, I said it in the beginning, but it is. I look up to you guys, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here. Even though I'd never planned on being here, it's one of the reasons why I'm here is you guys over at Iron Lords. So thank you for being here with us tonight. It was fantastic. Obviously, Centurion, Fuzzy, great night again, guys. Always. You can find me everywhere. Pong, Soul, Xbox, Twitter. Tuesdays, Xbox Factor Podcast with Mr. Boomstick and Zemi Games, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate with Fun Speculation, aka Mav, his wife Caitlin. Obviously, yeah, that's right.
Who did they have on there? They had Dealer.
We had Dealer.
Yesterday.
Yeah, we had Dealer.
Yeah, you guys had Dealer. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So shout out to them. 3-Bit, Assassin, Lupa, Psychonauts, and of course, Lady AF as well. We are the Magnificent Seven over there. Come check us out Friday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central Time. Saturday mornings, as PTK was just saying, Steel, Rain, and I on Living Split Screen, all one word. Saturday mornings, our new show. We just did episode 4, Turnout has been absolutely stunning. It's been great. We are growing. We love everybody coming out and seeing us in the morning. We know it's a rough time for some people to get up, and that's okay. We don't blame you, but if you do want to wake up, come see us. Energy is huge for myself and Steel, obviously. All organic show. That starts at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time for all of our European friends out there. Again, Living Split Screen. Come by, check us out. Pretty sure you're going to like what you see between the two of us. It's a great show. And then obviously Saturday nights here. And just final shout out, if anybody didn't catch Wandering Dutch over at Midweek Mix Up today, put together a 2.5 hour production and called it the Community Spotlight, or no, Community Indie Showcase. And he premiered it today. It's 2.5 hours, 77 indie games highlighted. I was honored to be asked to just be a tiny little introduction piece to it, along with Boom, along with Cog, of course. Sav, I'm sure you probably knew that. Cog was a part of it. Fun Speculation was a part of it. Goat Force Gaming. Go check it out if you haven't had a chance. It's not like Twitch. Twitch should probably take some notes as to how to showcase indie games, because this was a fantastic show. Basically just solid trailers and gameplay. 2.5 hours, 77 games. Incredible job by Wandering Dutch over there. So go check it out, guys. Thank you all again. Yep.
Yeah, shout out to Dutch as well. He was in the chat earlier.
Yeah.
I know he's on that overseas time, so maybe he had to go. But appreciate, man. He did a fantastic job. Very high quality. Go check it out. Do yourself a favor, man, for sure. Shout out to you, Pong, for always being here, newest member of the podcast. You've added so much to the show and added so much personality to what we do here and so much integrity as well. So we appreciate you here, brother.
I appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. And let's go and throw this over to Centurion, brother. What's going on with you, man? Got the channel cooking up. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Well, for starters, man, thank you to Lord Sovereign for being here. And oh my God, Pong Soul, where are you not? Dude, man, I swear he walks around We've got Fuzzy Belvedere over here in a lounge robe. We've got Pong Soul over here in a cape. I mean, like, man, what more can anybody want to podcast with? I mean, like, Saturday nights here are the best. So for those who are interested in finding me, the content I create, yes, I've actually got the old easy bake content oven, kind of putting out some stuff. Just recently released another video, got another one cooking up. For those interested, you can find me at Centurion1307 on YouTube, Twitter, and of course Xbox Live. You can also locate me here every Saturday night on the Shop Podcast with the amazing PTK Blam, Pong, and Fuzzy Belvedere. I mean, dude, it's like a second family. And then over on Sunday nights, you'll find my third family over on the TXR podcast with Invader Gaming and the rest of the great guys over there. So see you guys around, and thank you everyone for joining us.
And this is where we smooth things down, Saab. You ain't been here in a while. Before we get to Fuzz, you got to bring out your nice smoking jacket, get yourself together. I know you got the beard situation going. We got to get it together. We got to smooth things out. Go ahead. We're working on getting Fuzz an ASMR only fan. So we're trying to figure that out. But go ahead, Fuzz. It's on you, brother.
Well, just want to thank Saul for coming out, man. Awesome being able to do the show with you today. Just always a great conversation. Always love watching you guys on ILP. Pretty much, you guys are the current. Well, I mean this in a way where you're like the go-to. I'm going to say IGN, although I have issue with IGN, but no, you guys are the standard now as far as for content, whether it be reviews or just conversations with devs, highlights on some of the upcoming games and things. You guys are doing the damn thing, and congratulations to you all the recent and ongoing accolades you guys are getting. So it is awesome doing the show with you today. And Pong, congrats to you, man. You are definitely tearing up the scene. And
appreciate that, brother.
Keep that energy. That you wake me up on Saturday, I gotta grab my coffee. But
that's what they're there for. That's what we're there for.
You definitely got what it takes, man.
Thank you,
Centurion. Keep on churning out them videos. It's always good to have your insight and perspective as far as how you see the gaming industry and talk about the things that not everybody else is talking about. And with Blam, always appreciate you, man. You. Whether it's co-oping on Division or just talking in party chat about the randomness of gaming in general. And shout out to Stag. Hope he's feeling well today.
Yeah, man.
He always jokes he'll be here on Sunday, but definitely looking forward to with him returning next week and stuff. But man, awesome show. I always appreciate doing this with you guys. As far as where you can find me on Twitter usually, fighting with trolls or posting pictures of Forza or Gran Turismo at Fuzzy_Belvedere, on PSN at Fuzzy_Belvedere, or Xbox Live, Fuzzy Space Belvedere. Like I said, normally playing Forza or on occasion Division 2. And lately I've been playing that Rain on Your Parade game because it's kind of funny and silly and fun at the same time.
Nice.
But, man, just so much fun tonight. This was awesome.
Awesome. So last but not least, your boy PTK Blam across the board. I just want to start out. Everybody here, you guys know I try and do my best to show you guys every week how much I appreciate all of you individually. Everybody that leaves a like, pops in for 5 seconds and leaves. Everybody that contributes in any way, shape, or form, or any kind of energy to what we do here. I greatly appreciate you guys. Sav, you my brother, man. You already know. So from day one, you've always supported the show. ILP, I can't say enough. You guys have supported the show so much, just in many different ways. Just from your words, I reach out to you guys for different things. You always give good information, positivity back. So, everything that's happening to you guys is supposed to happen, Saab. So just remember that. Don't forget.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right,
brother.
it's supposed to happen.
It's a product of all of us like building each other up. Now that I think about it, bro, I think your show was my first appearance by myself.
I'm pretty. See, this is. I don't even remember these
So,
things.
so thank you, because you pulled me out of that show. Because listen, I think I fought tooth and nail with Cognito. Like, no, I don't need to be anywhere else. I said, yes, you do, man. You need to be out there. And I'm just like, all right. and then offers started coming in, and I think yours was absolutely the first one. And it was such a great experience, and like I said, it's such a joy for me to see everybody that kind of started at the same time still doing great.
Yeah, man.
Their voices out there being heard, and everybody sort of building each other up, everybody in each other's chats and stuff like that. Like, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And sometimes it sounds corny when you say it, like, the kumbaya stuff.
Yeah,
but
it's
honestly,
real. I mean, it's all real, man.
It is real, because when I think about it, I'm like, I'm a 45-year-old man that gets to sit down and talk about video games. Like, I ain't mad at nothing. I'm not mad at nothing, man. Like, it's all love, it's all fun, man. So absolutely love being here, man. Fantastic.
Sure. Appreciate you, man. And once again, guys, you guys can find me across the board, PTK Blam, Twitter. Hit me up there. All of that information is down in the description below, as well Xbox Live, PTK Blam. I appreciate you guys. So next week we'll have another guest. I will announce it on Monday. So it is a brand new first-time guest, never been on the show before. You guys know I try and cycle, through and keep things fresh. But we'll have some. I'll show you guys on Monday who it is, and you guys should be excited by that. But we'll keep things going, man. So same place. See us here next week. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We are out. Peace out, everybody.
Later.